Hello and good morning. Welcome to another fantastic episode of Breakfast with Boom. I am your host, MrBooMStickXL, and I have put an amazing show together for you today. So much has happened in the last 24 hours. It's pretty unbelievable, but my outstanding panel and I will keep you entertained for the next 2+ hours. So let me get right into the introduction so we can start the show. First up, he's a gamer, not shy, who also enjoys telling it like it is. He's an 80s pop culture connoisseur. He's an Xbox Game Pass ambassador who holds numerous degrees in game sharing, leader of the secret and, of course, extremely deadly organization known as the Sesh Empire, the official panel member of Xbox Nation, as well as Breakfast with Boom. Please welcome my very good friend, all the way from Canada, So Shady.
Thank you, Boom. It is damn good to be here. I am excited, to say the least. I've been up all night playing Rage 2 with my bro for a couple hours, by myself for a couple hours. I damn near got some G Fuel going straight into my veins. A la IV here, keeping myself up. The news in the industry, my God. Megaton's not big enough. Gigaton just got dropped. I can't wait to get into it, man. Let's do it.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Next up, you know him as an actual Xbox ambassador. Some consider him a community good guy, and I would agree with that. A gamer who likes to be called Emperor at times. He's a content creator extraordinaire, gamer with a big heart for helping others, huge Xbox fan, and an elite sniper who can take your head clean off from 500 feet away. Please welcome Ambassador Zemi.
Thank you so much, Boom. Super excited to be here. Can't wait to jump into all these topics. There's just so much great news that just came out here in the last 24 hours. Much less the last week. Super excited to be here. So thank you so much.
Oh, dude, it's great to have you as always. We're gonna have a lot of fun. Like every Friday. But thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being a steady part of the show. I do appreciate that. Next up, you know him as Indy, but no. It's not the old guy with the cool hat and whip. Someone better. He's a massive lover of all things gaming. He carries a passion for the indie scene like no other. Creator of the outstanding YouTube channel dedicated to highlighting smaller games, community member extraordinaire, and great friend. Please welcome the Indie Gamer.
Thank you, Boom. Absolutely outstanding intro again. Am I worthy? I hope I can deliver some good times with you guys today and good chats about awesome topics. It's always a pleasure being on your show, bro. So thank you very much for having me on again, and looking forward to interacting with the chat and everyone today. It's going to be a good one. Cheers, guys.
Yeah, great to have you, dude. Always a lot of fun to have you on the show.
Thank you, Boom.
Yeah, well, great. Thanks again for being here. Next up, I know him as one of the biggest Nintendo fans on Twitter, but he is a multi-console supporter. He has an outstanding YouTube channel dedicated to pure awesomeness. He's a proud husband. He's a proud dad. He's a huge Seattle Seahawks fan and a strong community leader. Please welcome Nintendo Direct.
Hey, I like that intro. I like the fact that you added the whole Seahawks fan. I really did like that.
I do my research when I do these things.
Sir. I like that. You dug deep for that one. You dug real deep for that one. So I do like that a whole lot, man. I'm glad to be here. It's gonna be a lot of fun. And like Shady said, we got some good news to talk about. I'm ready to talk about it.
It's going to be really good. And last, and in absolutely no way least, a surprise guest that was going to be on, who wasn't on, who is now back on. He's a good friend of this community. He is the showrunner of the outstanding and incredible Basement Radio Arcade podcast. He is the voice of reason on Twitter. He is the voice of reason for media. Me and him, we don't get along always, but we're good buddies. All the way from Washington, D.C., where he just finished saving the world once again in The Division. Please welcome Enrique.
Boom. That was a great introduction, man.
Dude, that was, I want
everybody
to know, when I do these things, I sit down, I almost like stalking. I go to your sites, I go to your, and I get the information because I want to give everyone the proper intro. I want everyone to know that one, I did buy the seat of my pants because he wasn't going to be here and I didn't write one. So I hope it was good.
Oh no, dude, that was awesome, man. Like I said, that was impressive to do that off the cuff. But happy to be here, man. Great panel, and look forward to a lot of these great topics we're going to talk about this morning.
Well, listen, you know what? Let's not keep the amazing people waiting. We have to jump right into some of the biggest. Look, let me just say this. In what seemed like a movie script ending yesterday, Microsoft and Sony form an unbelievable cloud gaming and AI partnership, shocking the entire gaming world. Microsoft and Sony announced yesterday a very unusual partnership, allowing the two rivals to partner on a cloud-based gaming service. The two companies will explore a joint development on future cloud solutions in using the Microsoft Azure servers. Look, yeah, before we get into other details, because I want to talk about what exactly the presidents of each company had to say about it. And of course, it was, what you would expect, a great PR. But, Sony could have easily gone and used Amazon, which would a lot of people in the community, especially on the PlayStation side, were thinking they were going to do because, why would they use Microsoft? That's insane. That's their rival. And this, I got to tell you, man, we've had more Thursdays like this year than we've had in all of the gaming I've ever done, where just a regular Thursday happens and boom, this is I don't know what's bigger than a megaton, but this is probably the biggest news of 2019 for sure. And I'm going to say this, in all of my 40 years of gaming, I have never seen a substantial story break like this that's going to change gaming as we know it. And, first I want to read a quote from Phil Spencer. And it's very simple, but it's politically correct. And you can tell that he's excited. He says, we're excited about the opportunities ahead at Sony for us to pursue our mutual gaming ambitions and delight players around the world. And, this is where I really have to tip my hat once again to Sony, because that's a great quote from from Phil Spencer. There was one with Satya Nadella. It was very long, so I didn't add it. I'll get people's opinion on it. I'm sure everyone read it. But I want to read the quote from the president and CEO, Kenshiro Yoshida. He says this: PlayStation itself came about through the integration of creativity and technology. Our mission is to seamlessly evolve this platform as one that continues to deliver the best and most immersive entertainment experiences, together with a cloud environment that ensures the best possible experience anytime, anywhere. This sounds very xCloudish, but let me continue. For many years, Microsoft has been a key business partner for us, though, of course, the two companies have also been competing in some areas. I believe our joint development of future cloud solutions will contribute greatly to the advancement of interactive content. Additionally, I hope that in the areas of semiconductors and AI leveraging each company's cutting-edge technology in a mutual way will lead to the creation of a new value for society. Man, that's listen, I say this all the time, folks, and I'm not BSing you. Reading that from this dude gave me goosebumps because I'm not invested in the gaming space.
Sounds like they're cooking up Skynet almost. My
dude.
God.
Let me just and then here's the question to the panel. I'm going to start off with Shady on this. Saying this is a groundbreaking partnership would be an understatement of the century, in my opinion. What do you guys think this means for gaming as a whole, where it involves cross-play, cross-progression between Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo? And will this be a very, very new, profitable influx of revenue for Microsoft, where they see Phil Spencer and Redmond invest heavily in first-party development?
I'll start off with will it make money for Microsoft? I think the quick answer to that is absolutely. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, they're saying that future cloud projects with Sony will be running on Azure, as well as existing online infrastructure. So essentially, that means that the entire PlayStation network is now going to be run from the Azure network. That doesn't mean that it's being streamed by xCloud. xCloud also runs on Azure, but
Yes.
it is a Microsoft option. So Sony will have their options, but also coming from Azure. Their PlayStation Now service will be coming from Azure as well, which will massively help that streaming service. I don't use it myself, but from people that I trust in the community and just a lot of feedback that I write out there is that specific PlayStation Now streaming is just not up to good standard. It's not really playable for the people that just really are expecting almost a professional. I hate to use their term pro when you come gaming, right? But just high level gaming, it's not getting the job done. So in short, everything that Sony is doing online oriented will be coming from Azure. So they're going to be profiting from that, of course. Now, does this mean that we're going to have Sony games over on Xbox, or we're going to have Xbox games playing on the PlayStation? I don't know. They haven't said that. They did say stay tuned for more details. I personally think that stuff is coming in a while, but they're going to make it slow, maybe not day and date. It could be a year later. Look what's happening with Cuphead on the Switch. It's been out on Xbox for about a year. They release it later on another platform, which does big sales for the title, which has maybe gone stale over on Xbox as far as sales are concerned, and it gets rejuvenated. So that's great for the company. These businesses are in it to make money, not necessarily just make their own little tiny specific walled garden the prettiest it can be, and that's it. I think those walls are most certainly coming down brick by brick as we sit here, and they may even be flattened by the end of next gen. I personally hope so. I do think that also in the wording, it was to bring Sony games to everyone everywhere. That tells me that Sony is doing something similar to xCloud, and that you will be able to play Sony purchased content on any device.
It's happening, dude.
That's right. Yeah. And it'll be streamed via Azure, not streamed via xCloud. Let's call it what it is. And it's the Azure network that will be streaming the PlayStation games as well. Whether or not they do a Game Pass with day and date exclusives, that's totally not what we're talking about. I just think that their games, the ones that you purchase, will be streamable to any device. That is music to my ears, because I am burned out of buying multiple consoles every generation for a handful of exclusives. I want the games. I don't want redundant technology that has just got a different brand on the front of it. These consoles, the consoles are just so similar today. I mean, the Switch has got its portability, but streaming is kicking our door down, and I think it's going to take over that. You don't need a portable console anymore. The phone, the tablet, anything will stream it. So I think that's going to be gobbled up. Nintendo's going to have to find something new to rely on. But I think we're going to eventually see PlayStation games on any device, which tells me that I can save my $300, $400, maybe even $500 per gen and instantly buy.
You can invest that into games.
That's right, into the games, and that's great. Like the way it is now, I bought a used PlayStation. I buy all their games used because they're single player. They're going to be better over time because of patchwork. I don't need to play them early on when the community is quote unquote hot online, because I'm not playing, the online PlayStation stuff. It's only the single player. So I buy everything used. Sony made 0 pennies from So Shady this gen. Next gen, if they actually do this and I can play their games on any device and I don't have to buy a console, I am more likely to just buy their games as they come out because I can stream them wherever the hell I want. Maybe it's to my Xbox, maybe it's to my smart TV, or it's to my tablet, or it's to my PC, wherever. I don't need that device. I hope Nintendo follows suit. Xbox is already definitely doing this. So I think this is the way of the future. I'm all on board, man. Anyone who's been listening to me for the last year I've been in this community knows that I do not like device-specific exclusives. I don't like them. I don't like them at all.
I mean, listen.
Like Netflix can have its exclusive content. Hulu can have its. That's fine. They all work on the same device. They're not asking me to go out and spend big money on something else to plop in front of my TV. And I'm fine with that type of exclusivity. I do not like the device specific, and I'm really not a big fan of going out and plucking known established like IP and making that exclusive either. Like the community spoke out against Microsoft when they did it to Tomb Raider. I didn't see it happening when it was going on with Sony and Spider-Man. I don't like when that happens. I just don't like when they do that. If you want an exclusive, a true exclusive, quote unquote, build it yourself from the ground up new. I think that's the fairest way to do it, but that's just me. I'm not in business. I'm not out to make millions myself. I'm out to enjoy these games. And I think that this is a great move for the industry, man. I think we're going to get more games available everywhere for more people with less barriers. So I'll leave it at that. I'm interested to see what's happening. I hope it's this E3 that we get more news.
Yeah, I think we're going to. I want to go to Enrique next on this, if that's okay. Obviously, there's a lot riding on this deal. This is a shocker. This is the biggest deal, I think, in gaming. When you look back and you've been in gaming for a long time, there are certain things that happen. Sales numbers of a game that break. How many consoles sold on an opening day? How much a movie made in a week? You know what I'm saying? We look at all these numbers. This is a big deal. And this proves a lot of things. Sony would have never done this if they didn't think the xCloud technology was going to work, and apparently it is. And they would not have done this if they didn't have confidence in the Azure servers. What does this say for the Microsoft fans who have been supporting Xbox?
Well, I mean, I think that I think this is. I just want to comment on Sony's position in this. I mean, I think obviously Sony went with a company that one, they've had a relationship with in the past. Two, a company that has good footing in the gaming industry right now and is kind of leading the charge of streaming technologies that relates to gaming. And we know about Google and Stadia. I think this just confirms what I've been saying for the last couple months or so, the last year. That I think that this is where the industry is heading, where you're going to have a situation where you stream content to multiple devices. I think Shady mentioned that too, that those walls of those barriers of those $400-500 consoles those days, maybe not now, the next 10 years, but maybe 15-20 years from now, we're not going to be gaming on hardware per se, that we're going to have web applications on our TVs and our smartphones to access all this content. And I'm all for that. I love that. I think Sony's well aware what's happening in Japan with the Japanese market kind of migrating from console to mobile now, which is a big reason why the Nintendo Switch is doing so well there. So smart move on Sony's behalf. But in terms of the impact, I think on Microsoft gamers, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if we'll see crossplay or cross progression. I would say maybe crossplay before cross progression. I know that Sony was
maybe. I'm in the camp where I think cross progression is more important. That's just
I
me.
agree. Yeah. I just think Sony's a little more, and I'm just basing this off what they said with regards to Destiny. How they didn't want cross progression because they really wanted that brand to be associated with the PlayStation platform, and they even said, we don't care who we screw over. We want this, we want that perception to be that Destiny is on our platform, so we don't want cross progression. So
I think that was old Sony. They've had a change of
great point.
Even since then. And one more thing, I really wanted to bring this up was beyond the cross-play and stuff like that might be easier because it's all working on the Azure network, perhaps. But what I think, what I hope actually is what's going to happen is we'll see all the third party start to use the actual free to use dedicated servers that Microsoft has on offer. I believe it was the Don, who is a fellow community member, has spoken in the past that the reason this doesn't happen, I believe it was from someone from 2K in their NBA series. They said that it's just not fair. It's just not fair to the Sony guys to have dedicated servers running on Azure over on Xbox. Meanwhile, the Sony guys don't have that. And they also said, I believe it was because of the press. The last thing they wanted was articles comparing the two networks and saying that, NBA, whatever doesn't work right on the PlayStation in comparison. That's just not a good anything. So instead, they go with a parity and tend to run multiplayer games on their own servers. And now that everyone, Microsoft and Sony, are on the Azure, I'm really hoping that all the third party is going to just start taking advantage of the actual dedicated servers that Microsoft has on offer, because both platforms are now using them. So I'd like to see that, because that would really help the multiplayer game a lot.
Yeah, I think it's a great point, and I agree. I mean, I would love to see that too. And I think both parties benefit here. Obviously, Microsoft financially will get more money for this, and Sony, I think, is obviously benefiting because now, they have the backbone to kind of do and be a player in the future of game streaming.
Everybody benefits from this. This is a win-win
Yeah.
for everyone. It really is.
No, absolutely, absolutely. So, I'm interested to see, how this plays out in the future. Also very interested to see what. So how my own Google and Stadia. That to me is the.
I think it's an epic fail. I'm going
You
to be
think
honest.
so?
I think it's a fail before it even started.
Hot
Wow.
take. Hot take there.
That's a
Yeah.
hot take. That's a
A lot of
spicy
people think it's
take.
gonna be
Boom.
successful. I don't know.
Listen. Again, we're not going to get into Stadia because that could be 3-hour show. But I think it's they're late to the party. They get there, the balloons are on the floor, the tables are turned over, the lights, one light is on in the corner, and they're like, "Where is everyone?" And that's Google right now.
Yeah.
Everyone is at someone else's crib right now, just chilling, and they're at the party like, "Okay, I'm ready to go." Whoa, where's the food? Is the people? It's dark. I'm scared. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm also wondering if we'll see a new portable device from Sony now. If this might spark that.
Look. What you're saying is not madness. I love the idea. The Vita 2, I'm buying it day one. Play my games anywhere on the go. I'm okay with that. I want to go to the Nintendo Direct on this, dude. This everyone and their mother did videos yesterday. As a matter of fact, I got to give a big shout. First of all, I have to give a couple of shout outs here before I lose the ability to look at them because this is how the super chat is funny because if you don't get to it immediately, you lose it. Ricardo Willis, who's a massive supporter of the show, drops a $2 super chat. Dude, thank you so much for your support. He says, Boom just made the dream team of podcasting. Well, that's really awesome of you to say. My panel today is pretty damn stout. I have a few others I have to get real quick, but this chat is just, wow, you guys are really unbelievable. Thank you so much. Dreadpool with the outstanding $1 super chat. Thank you, Dreadpool. He has bailed this show out more times than you guys know, where he's come in at the last minute. And here he is again, dropping an additional $5 super chat. Said, you can't pirate or hack or cheat on streaming games. Good point. But Nintendo Direct, this is a monumental thing. I mean, I don't know how more surprised I think anyone is that this happened. I also think it just shows that the confidence. Sony, listen, they're not going to partner with Microsoft if they think that there's a chance this is going to fail. Right. What is the confidence that Sony shows you in this deal about the Azure servers?
Man, what it shows to me is they wouldn't have partnered because wasn't there some things out there said they were looking at some other resources as well, like Amazon. They were talking about Amazon and
yes,
some other things, and they decided that we're not going to do that. We're going to partner with someone who knows how to do gaming, because that's pretty much what Sony at this point is all about, is gaming. Yeah, they do their movies, but the gaming division is pretty much their bread and butter. So like they look at it and say, hey, we need to go with somebody who's experienced with gaming, who's going to help us out. Microsoft's already in it. Microsoft's already doing it. We have our servers that aren't good. Let me just put it that way. And so they went that way. And we heard rumblings, at the beginning of the year, late last year, Sony talking about what they had planned on doing in the future. And they had mentioned, that they're trying to get stuff on all devices and their plans. And some of us thought, like, how in the world are you going to do that? Some of us who have used PlayStation now are like, well, right now you're not ready. So how is that going to be possible? And then I think really, honestly, what pushed this was Google Stadia. I think not that, you mentioned that they're going to be, you don't think they're going to be ready to go off the bat, but I do think that their influence is prevalent here, and they are pushing these other companies to really
band together
and pursue it. Because I think they came out with every idea that they had, because we watched it. These are great ideas that they had. Some of them are ambitious to say the least, but say the most. But Sony looked at that and said, look, we need to get in, and we don't have the resources to do it. Who can we partner with that'll help us out? Who's willing to? And they looked at Amazon and said, no, thank you. Microsoft was like, yo, hey, we got these servers over here that work just great. And if y'all want to come over here, we got you. And so Sony decided to partner with that. And I just think that just shows that they have a lot of confidence in what Microsoft does. Their position in gaming. We have this sort of perception that these guys are all against each other and looking at each other, and they're all in this triple threat, TLC match, tables, ladders, and chairs match, beating each other over the head with, weapons and stuff. But come to find out, no, not really. They're all in it together to make money. And, somebody said that, they see each other as competitors, but not exactly. Well, that was the quote. Like, we see each other as competitors, but also we have been in a partnership for a long time. And as Shady said, now that Sony is in with Microsoft, because Microsoft has some great resources, whether it's their online infrastructure, this cloud, I'm really looking at Nintendo. And I know that that's a lot of people are like, oh, no, who cares? It's Nintendo. But I'm really looking at Nintendo right now because Nintendo Switch Online is not good. I don't know if you've played Nintendo Switch Online and you've tried to play online.
It's barely working.
Yeah, and you try to play with your friends online through just the NES games. It's so bad. You know what I mean? And so I'm really looking at Nintendo. Like, what are you guys going to do next?
They should do the same thing and use the Azure servers.
Exactly.
They really should.
Reach out to Microsoft and say, look, we need help with our online infrastructure. Reach out to them and get them to help you guys out with the NSO. That's all you really need to do. I think it's a great idea. I really hope that that's what happened. I know that there's a partnership there. Maybe that'll eventually happen. Maybe they'll see what Sony did and sort of follow suit.
Great point.
But at the end of the day, this just shows how good of a resource Microsoft is, even though everybody wants to bash them and say they don't have games and yada yada yada. But Microsoft looked at the bigger picture and said, look, they're a huge resource, and Sony's even admitting they are a great resource. They know what they're doing. And so I'm pleased to see this, and I'm with all you guys. I'm pleased to see what this means for the future. The console war is slowly coming to an end a little bit, so I'm looking forward to it. I absolutely enjoy it.
Yeah, no, the great, really great point. Indie Gamer, I want to get to you on this, dude. Before Nintendo finished what he had to say, he mentioned something, and basically he said that the console war was pretty much nearly ending. And even though you're going to have both sides or all three sides of the camp, there's going to be those dedicated ones that kind of dig themselves in that 5 or 10% to say, no, I'm not playing with others. This is my house, right? I think it's safe to say that these companies, they do respect one another, regardless of their whether they're competitors or not. I think the console wars are ridiculous. I think the way out of the console war is simply support all three consoles, and you completely remove yourself from the bullshit. Pardon my French. But what, in your opinion, seeing this happen, how big is this for the industry?
Oh, it's massive in my opinion. Yeah. I mean, one of the biggest drains of this generation is the console wars, but that's always going to be there. Competition's always going to be there, but the two big boys coming together, it tells a lot in my opinion. I mean, a lot of people think they're at each other, but really, behind the scenes, I think there's a lot more going on than people realize, contacts between each other. And especially at this time that it showed where, that Sony wanted the best, for their service. They're looking out for the best for their future, what they can deliver. They realized that they didn't have the capability themselves. They looked elsewhere and they found, the best, and, great for them. I'm glad, they've done what they needed to do, in my opinion, and got with the best servers out there for gaming. The Azure servers. It's gonna, the team together is going to be. I think it's going to be excellent. It's going to take gaming into a new realm, basically. Basically. I think like Nick said, actually, I was going to say this anyway. I promise. I'm not just copying. Okay, but no, he mentioned that they saw Google as a threat, and I think that is definitely where it's all come from. And
that's a great point for both of you guys. That's a great point.
They're basically looking to take them down and crush them into the ground. I think that's basically just stomping them out before they can. They're just basically making themselves the biggest they can be, the best they can be, and stomping them out before they can become a real threat, if you know what I mean. I know some people still have doubts, like you said, you have doubts about Google, but they do have the potential, but it's just they're not a gaming, real gaming platform. I think that's that's not going to go in their favor. So, but yeah, no, I definitely think it's good that they're coming together. It's breaking down a lot of walls, opening up so many doors for like cross-play and cross progression, things like that. And who knows where else it can go. And but the other thing is as well, like exclusives and things like that. I always think of exclusives as a kind of a cheap tactic to get people on board. It's kind of like a buy clicks almost. You know what I mean? It's that kind of tactic, in my opinion. Like, but buying people to go to your channel or click on your post or whatever. It's like it's not a real way of doing things, in my opinion. Create something awesome. People will come, and I think that's what they're doing this time. And I think overall the gamer is going to win big time from all of this. Really, I think it's an excellent thing, them coming together and creating something even better for the gamer.
Yeah, no, that's a really great point. And of course, Ambassador Zemi close this topic out, dude. Like I said, you keep your ear to the ground. You have a fantastic YouTube channel, so of course you're into what happens within the gaming space. How taken aback were you when you saw this, explode on social media yesterday? I mean, again, when the mainstream media, meaning like the news, is covering this, it's a big deal. In your opinion, how do gamers win because of this signed deal?
Oh, I think this is absolutely huge news. I mean, it in a way, it's almost like the Microsoft Sony Berlin Wall is starting to come down. If you will,
love it.
Right?
Great.
I think it's very beneficial to both sides. It's beneficial to PlayStation. They're accessing this better technology. Microsoft's going to make money off of that. But I think Microsoft's end goal is to try to get Game Pass on, the PlayStation one way or another, regardless of if PlayStation puts their games on Xbox. I think that is ultimately Xbox's main goal, is to get Game Pass on there, because, a couple of months ago, we've seen news that Game Pass was going to be going to Nintendo. And I think that that's their ultimate goal. Is, Xbox realizes that the gaming industry is changing. I think PlayStation's starting to realize that. Nintendo's starting to realize that. And there's a lot more money that can be made in services such as Game Pass than that could be made, just by selling hard copies or digital copies of games. Now, as far as, at the end of the day, what I would love to see would be PlayStation adding their service to Xbox and Nintendo doing the same, and everyone just all working together. That way I don't have to go pay $1,300 next generation to be able to play all the games.
Great point.
But ultimately, I don't think that may happen, that may not, because PlayStation really likes to drag their feet. We don't really 100% know how invested PlayStation is. I think Shady mentioned, they mentioned in like an article or something like that, in like an interview, that they were, hopefully planning or, adding PlayStation Now or PlayStation Games or a streaming service onto the Xbox console. But, they've talked so much about crossplay and went back on what they say. And, I'm not 100% sure how invested Sony is to this deal. But regardless, it's going to help Microsoft. And, and at the end of the day, it's going to help gamers all around, regardless of if you're a PlayStation, gamer, a Nintendo gamer, or an Xbox gamer. Even if Xbox just puts Game Pass on the Nintendo and the PlayStation and nothing else happens, it's still going to benefit everyone.
Yeah, that's a really great point. A great way to close out the particular topic. I think gamers win, and I really enjoy seeing the gamer win. And when I say gamer, that's anybody that picks up a controller. I don't care whether you're playing on your phone. I don't care if you're playing on the toilet. I don't care if you're playing Vita, the original, or a system from 15 years ago. If you enjoy gaming, you're a gamer, and and this is a situation where I think everyone's going to benefit from it.
That includes
another thing as well is, I think Microsoft is basically looking in how do we sell, Xbox games to the most people possible, right?
Yes.
And so
yes.
As far as Google Stadia goes, if they would be interested in having Game Pass or Xbox games on their service, I think Xbox would be willing to do that as well. So, I don't really 100% know how, likely that's going to, happen, but I think Xbox is quite literally trying to get their games on every single device that they can possibly do.
Well, I mean, listen, it's going to be interesting. I would not be surprised if they made this announcement and we don't get another one at E3. I would not be surprised at all. I think this E3 is going to shock us in a lot of ways. But you know what? Before I had another topic on that I wanted to talk about, but this one was something that I wanted to speak about because Enrique was going to be here, and he's got to leave us in 25 minutes. So I want to get to this topic first, and then we'll get into the rest. As everyone on this panel is a content creator, and in turn, it is traversing the amount of information that you need to put on a proper show could be daunting. There's no doubt about it. Anybody that's worked with me in the past knows that I over prepare like a MF. I do. I know we're going to get to 6 topics. There are 12 on the roster. Usually, my scripts or my the notes that I use for these shows, they're upwards of 4,000 words per show. And if I do 3 live shows a week, you can just imagine the amount of work that goes into it. And it's something that I truly, truly enjoy doing. I'm honored to be able to put out this information and get as many people. And we have 150 people watching on a Friday morning. I mean, that's for me is still nice. It's pinch worthy because I can't believe it, to be honest. But because Enrique's here and because I respect him so much, him and he said it in the opening that we have a difference of opinion when it comes to the media. And, I know that a lot of the times we talk about the negative aspects of the media and the negative sites. Some sites I don't use are like GameSpot, Kotaku I've shied away from. IGN, I used to be a fan. I don't like the way that they write. I don't like the way that they do their business. There's GameSpot is another one that I do not respect whatsoever. They're very clickbaity, and I try to stay away from them. Occasionally, you have to use these sites because there may be a story that no one's talking about, and they have it. So you have to, unfortunately, accredit them, which I do on all the stories that I do. I always accredit whoever I'm pulling the story from. I think I'm very fair like that. But there are 5 particular sites that are smaller that I use almost religiously for my shows. I don't know if anybody in the chat uses these, but I'm going to blur them out. And here's my thing. I don't say this lightly because they're not paying me to do this. These sites that I'm going to talk about probably have millions of subscribers compared to my 2,500. So they don't need BoomStick's help per se. But I think that if I find these sites worthy of the time to read and prepare for these shows, I think that you guys in the chat will find these sites to be better than what most people are putting out there, like the IGNs, the GameSpots, the Kotakus, those guys that are the scumbags, in my opinion, of the industry. I would say I would highly recommend checking these particular five sites out, and I'll give them to you right now, and then we'll get into what everyone thinks about them. Gaming Bolt is fantastic. They are a very old school writing kind of a site. They remind me of Gamers Republic, which is a great print magazine from way back in the 90s. I don't know if anybody remembers that. I love that magazine. Game Informer, the OG of my list. I worked for Funkoland 25 years ago when the Game Informer was a pamphlet of a magazine. It had like 6 pages in it, and 2 of the pages were sign up to get a cleaner and sign up for the club. You know what I'm saying? It was hardly anything written, and it's really one of the old school sites I continue to go back and forth to. Game Rant is another one, a fantastic old school site that just gives facts, and I really appreciate that. Another one, Dual Shockers. I happen to really, really enjoy how they write. I really enjoy how, again, they're not very clickbaity. They tell you what you're tuning in for, and I dig that. And last but certainly not least is very unusual site, but I highly recommend checking out comicbook.com. is another one, because obviously I'm a big comic nerd. I don't collect as much as I should, or I did when I was a kid. But their video game section is fantastic, and I would highly recommend it. And of course, I want to go to Enrique first on this, just in case you got to bounce out of here.
Yep.
The sites that I talked about, have you used any of them? And when you do your shows, what are your go-to sites?
Actually, I have used Gamer Rant. quite a bit. I actually am a fan of them. I feel like their website tends to be a little bit more straightforward, I think, than the other stuff. I feel like I stay away from Polygon. I'm not a fan of Polygon, not because I disagree with all their writers, but I just don't like the way the website's formatted. For me, a lot of it's aesthetics and being able to find information quickly. I don't like having to scour through a website to find what I'm looking for.
Right. Great point. Great point.
Yeah. But I actually have like a news aggregate app on my phone. Believe it or not, where I get a lot of information.
That's where I get mine. You use the Google, right? I mean, you use the news app.
Yeah, and I got some like gaming news.
Yes.
Yeah. So it pulls an aggregate, it pulls everything from different magazines. So I'm typically pulling articles. Gaming Balls, actually, I do visit them quite a bit. I do like IGN, mostly because of Ryan McCaffrey stuff.
Okay.
He's probably the one person. I've had Ryan on Brap.
Yes, you have. Great interview.
Good dude. Yeah, good dude. Really good dude, and very passionate about gaming. I mean, we had we talked about for about 45 minutes before we went on live. Just a really nice guy. But Game Informer is another one. I subscribe to the magazine. I use them quite a bit. But honestly, Boom, for me, it's probably the aggregate, that web app that I use, because there's so many websites out there. Like I go to Gear Nuke.
Okay, that's a good one. That's a small site, but they have good stuff.
Yep, Hardcore Gamer. I mean, there's just so many out there. There's so much information, that's out there. So it's interesting. You mentioned GameSpot. GameSpot, to me, in my opinion, was better when Greg Kasavin and Ryan Davis and Jeff Gertzman were there.
Yeah,
and that's when I was a forum moderator. But that's like 15 years ago.
Yeah, that's going back a bit.
Yeah. So, but no, Boom. I don't go to Dual Shockers. Is it Dual Shock or
Dual Shockers? Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't go to them. I just never have.
All right. I mean, I use them quite often. It's the same as comicbook.com. I enjoy their write-up. I mean, obviously, I go there for the video game stuff, but you get comic book stuff, so it's like a win-win for me.
Yeah. I do try to visit, like, when it comes to game reviews, I do try to visit multiple websites because I want to try to get different perspectives with reviews. Because I know, in part, the reviews do consist of, opinion and preference and stuff. So I do try to read multiple websites. With regards to to gaming reviews, I do want to get a different opinion or a different perspective on things. I think that's important, especially if I'm on the fence about a particular game that I'm thinking about buying. But I will say this, shameless plug, I do go to lordsofgaming.net.
Yeah, good plug. Nice. I like that.
I do go to them and Tick, the Inner Circle. I don't know if you guys know Sam Tolbert. Sam, there's just something about his writing that's, he's a younger guy. He's probably 21, 22. It's almost like there's this, I don't know if innocence is the right word, but there's just almost like innocence about that comes through his writing about gaming that I haven't found anywhere else. It's really nice. It's a nice change of pace.
Okay.
So I think if you're someone who's looking for, I mean, Sam does do opinion pieces, but if you're looking for someone who just talks about games and just passionate about gaming and maybe talks about it in a casual way, you may want to check out Sam Tolbert. And he's with the Inner Circle Network,
nice.
Or Tick. But he writes some fantastic stuff and reviews and just talent. I mean, he's, like I say, he's 22, he's just very talented.
Yeah. Alan Savage in the chat says maybe the guy has an old soul, and you may be right. He may be just an old soul trapped in a young body, and now he's making his voice heard. I like that. I'm gonna check the dude out for sure.
Yeah. Boom. I think you'll like a lot of the work that he does. I mean, it just, there's a certain level of purity about it. I don't know how to describe it. It just comes across different. It really does. You can tell he puts a lot of thought and passion into it, and not that the other guys don't. I think in part with the issue with the trouble that the media faces at times, and Boom, I think you brought this up on Brap, and I think this is a great topic. Is you talked about media crunch.
Yep.
That's a thing from what I understand, and so that often impacts perhaps the quality of material that we're reading, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because it's not like how we grew up, Boom, where magazines had, I don't know how much time, maybe a month or
sometimes
a week,
2.
Yeah, between releasing their next magazine. So there was a lot of effort, put into that. And then the one thing I'll say this about what I'd like to see come back, and boom, you remember Game Pro.
I do.
Remember the fun factor?
Yes,
Part of
great
reviews?
point.
I love that.
Fantastic. Yep.
Yeah, they should bring that back. And Famitsu does this, but I like to see the return of having 3 panel members review a game.
Yeah, that's strong. Yeah, because then you can definitely get an opinion. And again, it's like it's like when we were talking before the show went live. You know, this the reason why we disagree and we have different opinions, because wouldn't it be a boring ass podcast if everyone was like, "Yep, I agree. Yep, I agree. Yep, I agree." I'll move to the next topic. That would be terrible. And I think that a three person opinion piece for a score. See, I use these. I don't use scores. I haven't bought a game based on someone's score in freaking 25 years, because I'm invested in the industry, so I know what I like and I know what I see. Like with the previews and stuff. But that's a great point, Enrique. Really, really good stuff. Shady, I'll get you at towards the end, because I know that you have an opinion, which is awesome, but I want to really just hit the content creators first.
Hey, Boom, real quick. I do need to head out.
Okay, yeah. Listen, well, listen. Thank you so much for being here. I'll give you a proper, exit when you at the end of the show. But thanks for being here, dude. We appreciate it.
No, absolutely, man. Always a pleasure. Love the show, man. Great panel, and just. Boom, man, keep doing your thing, man. I got a lot of love for what you do, and
I appreciate that very much.
Yeah, you're just whoever said. I think you told me that someone left you a comment in the comment section saying that
that I'm fake. That this is
that you're fake.
Yeah.
Let me just say you are not fake. This is you.
It's crazy.
That's crazy.
He said that. He said this is an act, and you can cut the act.
Pretty good actor if it is.
That's hilarious. I don't know how much of a nicer person I could be, but trust me when I tell you, this is me in real life. This was me in uniform, and if you don't like it, okay, I hear you.
Maybe so the nice guy Oscar goes to MrBooMStick. The nice guy Oscar.
Some people are not used to so much positivity. Boom.
It maybe that's what it is.
That's the issue.
Well, Enrique, listen, have a great weekend with the family, my brother. We'll talk soon.
Yep, you too, guys.
Take care, Enrique.
Gentlemen, pleasure. Everyone, take care. Have a great weekend, and see you guys soon.
All right. Well, thanks so much, brother. Appreciate it.
You got it.
Nintendo Direct. I want to get to you real quick on this, because you obviously, you do a lot of Nintendo stuff, obviously, but you blatantly support other consoles and you enjoy gaming. You're a gamer.
Yes, sir.
But you're also a content creator. And with someone who has a job, with someone who has a family that you have to take care of, you still want to manage your channel. Where do you get your news from? How do you go about putting your shows together?
All right. So whenever I was doing the daily shows that I was doing before my work schedule changed and not be able to do them, but when I was doing those daily news shows, I used an app called News Fusion. And they had a gaming news section on there, a gaming news app. And what it did was, for me, is it gathered a bunch of articles, from that came out, gaming news and whatnot. And surprisingly, though, because I didn't even know that you're gonna do this, but some of the websites that you mentioned, are some of the ones that I actually pull from this app, because there's a bunch of them in this app, and you got to be careful about which ones you pick, because you can click on one thing and it could be some random website and you're like, why am I even here? My computer a virus. But some of the ones that I do use, Game Rant, Dual Shockers, Gaming Bolt, those are like the big 3 that constantly are on here, that I found myself going to because they're solid. It's not clickbaity, it's to the point, it's news, which is what I need. It's very rarely are they opinionated, which is exactly what you need whenever you're trying to do these shows, because you don't need opinions, you need facts.
Yes, great point. That's an excellent point, dude. Very good.
Websites bring the facts. And so when I was doing my daily shows, those were the big 3 ones that's funny that we had that in common, but those were 3 that I absolutely went to because they kept it straight to the point with the facts. And you also mentioned comic book news. Game Rant does a little bit of anime stuff as well, so that covers my whole spectrum of news I like to cover, because I'm a big anime dude and gaming. So those 2 I really do enjoy. I agree with the IGN thing. Polygon I'll use just depending on what the topic is. And then for Nintendo, there are a few Nintendo centric websites out there: Nintendo Enthusiast, Nintendo Life, Nintendo Today. There are some out there that are just strictly, if I want to just be like, boom, I got to get my Nintendo news, I go to those sites as well. So yeah, but those, I feel like those sites are very important because they bring facts more so than opinion, and I appreciate that.
Well, that's good. Well, that's really good. It's really interesting to hear. We never really thought about bringing this up in a topic until I sat down and said, I want to talk bring some positivity to the sites that I use. The indie gamer, you obviously do a lot of indie stuff, so you have to do your research on the game you're going to do. But in regards to when you put a show together, when you put something together, who do you like? Who's your go-to site? Maybe that somebody in the chat may not know about.
Well, with regards to the indie stuff, obviously sometimes it's buried a lot. It's a lot harder to find than the big marketing of AAA games and all that sort of stuff. So what I tend to do is I'll actively seek out and follow the accounts of the actual developers on Twitter, things like that. And if I want to keep up to date on a certain game, I'll basically get alerts on that. But there's also a really good website which I use because it depends on the nature of what you're sort of what you're creating. I guess I'm creating sort of like new and upcoming indie games a lot of the time. So there's a website which I really love, which is just really clean and just neat and tidy and does just the job I need it to do, which is called releases.com.
Okay.
And basically it's literally everything that's being released for the foreseeable future. And so say it's a game I'll have piqued my interest. I'll basically, you can literally just tag the game and it will give you updates whenever the release date is updated and things like that. So I'll just go through tagging games like that, and then when I get an update on a game, for example, Void Bastards or Bastards as the Welsh gamer
likes to say,
basically that's how I knew that straight away when that was updated the other day. I posted it on Twitter, the release date. It was because that came straight from releases.com. I got an update on an email, and so I knew 29th was the date, and then I popped it up on Twitter for everyone to know about. So yeah, it was pretty instantaneous from when they actually put that information out there. So it's a pretty good website actually for that sort of thing. But otherwise, like other websites, I'm a bit of I just go where the news is. I tend to, if I'm looking to do like a news video, which I don't do as much nowadays, but I did start off doing more sort of I did like news reports. So like back in the day, I haven't been doing it that long, but it was a BioShock video, for example, where I did it, and it was a report on DualShockers. So I've used DualShockers report before. I've used the Kotaku report before on a video. But I tend, like, with regards to that BioShock video specifically, I would bring together two sources to tell the story. I find that the best way is to, not just base it on one. If you can, just bring together a couple of sources which support the story, and then you know what you're talking about is actually for real. But yeah, there's a lot of, like I say, I'll research it in a sort of like open way where I'll look for the latest news. I also have Google updates set to I've got like a Google update every day where it gives me some reports of the news for that day. So I just set that up so I get some info. If there's anything juicy going around, then I'll know. Hopefully that's something to report on. But yeah, I think it's just keeping a finger on the button ready. And like I say, following personally, it's like, specific to me, like indie developers, follow a lot of indie developers who are making the games and stuff. Because like a lot of the time, sometimes the websites and things like that for indie games can be a bit lacking, and it's because they're often very small teams, so they don't have as many people to handle that sort of stuff. But yeah, so you've got to really keep an eye on it and things like that. But yeah, there's I just tend to keep in there with that and aware and an eye on the games that I'm looking forward to, really.
That's good. Well, that's a good way to do it. And Zemi, I want to get your opinion on this because you do content as well. Do you use a particular site that maybe someone in the chat would be interested in checking out, or do you kind of just go all over the place and you follow the news?
Honestly, anymore, I just try to actually get my hands on the actual press release.
That's smart. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I try to do because I can't remember his name. I think it might have been the Nintendo Direct. I could be butchering your name, but like he said, separating the facts from opinions is super important, and in these PR releases,
they're non-opinion based. They're just facts.
Exactly. I mean, sometimes they might be spend, because how PR people are. They want, they want their game to seem like the best game ever. So sometimes they might be spend around, but it's easy to spot out, the truth from what might just be, like the PR BS kind of stuff. So that's what I typically try to do. I also try to keep an eye on Twitter for any like new interesting topics that are coming out, and then I will then go to different websites, a variety of websites, just to fact check and look at multiple different news articles about the same thing, to once again try to separate like opinions from facts and vice versa. Now I can say that before I started doing content creation, my two main go-to sites were IGN and Game Informer. Like those were just my two go-to ones. But anymore, I just don't really go to these news sites looking and hunting for content to talk about really anymore.
Okay, well, I mean, that makes sense. And of course, Shady, close this out, dude. I mean, listen, you're not a content creator, but obviously you're on several shows, so you have to keep your ear to the floor. And of course, you've talked about in the past, maybe sometime down the line, doing something in the form of your own, shows or videos. I mean, for your information outside of, being on shows, what do you use to get your information? Where do you go?
That's right. Like I said, I don't create my own content per se right now, but I do participate in others' content, and I try to be a well-informed gamer, quote unquote, well-informed gamer. I've been big time into this hobby my entire life. I was getting upwards of 6 video game magazines a month when I was a kid. I would read them cover to cover, whether I was interested in the game or not, because I never knew, just in case I might learn something new. I might, one sentence could get me hyped, and it's like, oh, I'm in now. So I would just tear these things apart. I literally had like a little magnifying glass that I would look at all the screenshots of and everything to zoom it in. Man, I was into it big since I was a kid. And I maintained that once everything, the print kind of died and everything went digital on the internet. And it was really good for a long time. And then I'm not sure when it happened. It was kind of the beginning of this gen, towards the end of last gen, but something in the mainstream media, it really shifted from, I think, looking at video games as an actual form of entertainment and something to have fun with, and judging games for what they are, not what they aren't. And it's become this very cynical, like they're looking for issues everywhere. Even if they don't exist, they'll almost create one. And it's just a really bad look. I don't like a lot of what I read today, but a lot of news is still buried under like this mountain of opinion. It's still there. So I find myself still going to the IGNs, the Kotakus, the Polygons, the GameSpots and stuff like that. I mean, I got to admit, I'm a guy that watched the entire first season and was addicted to like Jersey Shore, because I needed to turn in and be triggered, man. Just be triggered for a straight hour. Lose my mind, like screaming at my TV. Like that was my hour to vent at just a bunch of idiots. And it didn't matter because I didn't know them. They essentially weren't even people to me. And like there's always something like that I frequently find myself going to, because I know it's going to trigger me in a certain way. And there's a little bit of me, call it sick, that enjoys that part of it, where it's just kind of like, at the end of the day, it's just innocence with entertainment. So it's not that bad. But I do go to these sites because a lot of the opinion, and because they're big, they're really big. So the opinions that they do put out there, they get spread pretty far and wide and picked up and parroted by a lot of people in the gaming world. So I like to see exactly where a lot of these opinions kind of originate from. And a lot of times it is these big sites that start some rather nasty narratives that, if you take only a few minutes at most of your time and pick up the game and check it out for yourself, you'll likely have a different opinion than the one that they're trying to push.
It's funny. I don't want to cut you off, but I want to segue immediately, and that's why I'm coming immediately back to you. The next topic we're going to talk about, of course, is a game. One making the news for a lot of reasons. Price drops, poor scores, with the media. And I'm talking about Rage 2, something that Shady was up playing. Oh my God, like ridiculous amount of hours. I'm a dozen hours into it. I have to say, I did a very vulgar tweet on Twitter, which I normally don't do, about how this game is not a 6 and that people should just play for themselves. There was a price drop immediately, which is sad. It's a sad thing, but it's a good thing if you waited. Shady immediately rolled into what you were just talking about, into Rage 2, which is getting this ridiculous. It had this narrative spun by most of the media. And again, I'm not picking on the media saying that this is some sort of a joint venture to ruin Rage. No. I'm just trying to say that I don't necessarily know if they put the time into the game to review it properly. Why don't you continue, dude?
Sounds good. I'll just quickly wrap up the end. Basically, I get all my news from anywhere. Like I from agents in the Sesh Empire on Twitter are constantly bringing me cool stuff. I go to all the sites, from the big guys to the small guys. Like I inform myself, and then I like to come up with my own opinion. I think it's rather obvious a lot of the time what the industry is trying to tell us, and I like to kind of decide for myself. So I go everywhere, and when it comes to my own content, when it does finally start coming, I think it's going to be a lot of entertainment as well as some of the news. But I like to entertain more than this week on X, Y, and Z. I'm not that guy. I would like to make people laugh and have a good time with me and show them maybe why I like video games for my entire life. So that's what will happen with me. But man, Rage 2, last week, Boom, we were talking about the creative director coming out and basically telling people how you should play this game in order to have the most fun. And I had said that I didn't like the way that came off. To me, I thought it was basically damage controlling the fact that if you go in and play it like a regular shooter and beat the story, don't go and explore, don't level up your stuff, don't play in the sandbox with the tools provided, you're not going to have as good of a time. And that's kind of really what's coming out. Like, it's one of those things that I don't like to be right about, but I think that justifies the scores that it's getting. Is Bethesda, they don't give out early review copies.
Yes.
Like, they just stop doing
That's just
that.
something they do. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's right. Like, if everyone noticed, the reviews for Rage 2 were the day of, some of them even a day later. Like, I think IGN was almost 12 or more hours behind, if I'm not mistaken. But either way, it was the day of. And I don't even believe that's because Bethesda has embargoes up even. They just don't give out review copies to these big sites anymore for a while now. Some of that's a good thing. Some of it's a bad thing. These sites are really quick to point out crunch when it's happening in the development sphere.
Great point.
But I'm convinced that every one of them is crunching all the time.
Yes.
They're forced to play games they don't necessarily want to. They're forced to have a review done in a certain amount of time. So they're trying to get as much of the game done, if not just get it so the credits roll so they can say they beat it as fast as they can. So I think that a lot of reviewers picked up Rage 2. They didn't listen to the creative director at all, and they just came in and they played it for the story. And my God, if id Software is known for one thing, it is its gameplay first mentality, and story is there to just basically give reason to the gameplay. I'm all for a good story in a game, but I think that story in games is becoming just so overblown, and people are looking for it in every single aspect, and not just a story. It's got to be some kind of a Hollywood epic, Oscar-winning, all the feels under the rainbow you got to experience when you're playing, no matter what. People are like, well, what's with the story in Forza? I'm like, come again? Story in Forza? I want to race. That's all I want to do is race. I think a lot of games have lost that pick up and play ability that we used to have in the past. I'm a very social guy. I have a lot of friends that come over and hang out all the time. We're all gamers, and there's a lot of games that we're all like to play, but because they're so narrative driven and we're not always at the same spots, and it's just not as good as being able to pick up a game like Rage, which is essentially an asteroid hit the Earth. Shit is a mess. There's a bunch of mutants that don't like you. You're a guy in cryo sleep. You woke up. You're gonna go wreck shit. That's it. That's the story. That's fine. So you just go and you play the game. The encounters are absolutely fantastic. The gunplay is top notch. It is violent.
Yeah, ultra
violent, my
violent.
God. Like,
Ultra
I
violent.
love it, man. The headshots, the head's coming off. I'm blowing a quarter of the forehead completely off, the brains hanging out. My brother and I were cackling like psychopaths when we were playing the game. You absolutely love it, man. And that's one thing that these reviews constantly brought up as well, was how damn fun the gameplay actually was, how tight the shooting actually was. Yet, because it's not some gigantic narrative-driven experience, it seemed to be penalized for it. And I don't think that's fair. Again, I felt that the game was being reviewed for what it isn't, as opposed for what it is. And that is an id Software game that has been expanded into an Avalanche-created open world. It's also an apocalypse, so you can't expect every inch of this open world to be jam-packed with places to explore, enemies to kill, NPCs walking around. You have a vehicle to tear around fast, which means there's going to be a lot of open spaces. The game is gorgeous. It's a little soft at a distance. I'm playing on my 4K, my big 65-inch 4K. I think that's because it's 1080. But my God, does it run so smooth. I haven't seen a frame hitch yet. When I started playing, I went to the left. When I started playing with my brother last night, I told him, so he went to the right. Like, we have exact same play styles. So he went as far right as he could. I went as far left, and we're avoiding the story, man. Just what does this game have? So we're breaking into bases that are way overpowered. What kind of enemies are in here, fighting them? And we're loving it. We are loving it. We enjoy the driving. I recommend anyone turn off that auto center camera option for your vehicle in the options. So you are now in control of the camera while driving around.
Oh, I didn't know you could do that. Thank you very much.
I thought
did
it was
not
very
know
aggressive.
that.
It was very aggressive, I found, where as
Yes.
soon as you let go of the stick, within a second, it was tearing you back forward. So in the options, you can turn that off, and I love it. I think it controls very, very, very similar to Mad Max. In fact, I think the open world is set up very similar to the way Mad Max open world was set up. A lot of question marks around the world. You come up on them, you kill some enemies in there, you get some loot and some scavenged items, maybe a box to help your upgrade points. I really enjoyed the game loop. I'm excited to get into it. I saw the other day that they've got 3 or 4 months of planned content coming out, a lot of which is free for everybody. There's like open world events that they have going on where there'll be certain enemy groups that are more populated, or a big boss that you have to take out and stuff like that. I'm enjoying the cheat codes. I forgot to mention, I do have the NBA Jam cheat code on for pre-ordering it. It's hilarious. It's really funny. Like, he knows he's in Rage 2. It's not like he's just throwing NBA Jam lines
dude, I have
out.
to turn that on. I have not turned it on.
It's
Shame
really,
on me,
really
dude.
good. It's really good. And the other cheats, unfortunately, as soon as they're activated, the save that you're currently using can't get any more achievements. But you can save in multiple slots. So I recommend just having a secondary save that'll be your cheat slot. So if you come up on somewhere that's awesome and you want to turn on maybe that raining explosive barrels cheat, you load up your second save there, and then you can go in and do that, then go back to your original save, and you can continue.
Yeah, I would just do the voice actors, as long as it doesn't hurt the achievement.
The voice actors don't, and they're really, really funny. I was bummed that the Aussie Man reviews, I really enjoy that dude's channel. He makes me laugh all the time. He has a voice track, but it's not out at launch. I guess it's coming in one of the content packs here coming up, but I'm excited for everything to come. I think they really nailed the gameplay in this. It's not bogged down by narrative. It is an action-packed gameplay first experience that I highly, highly recommend. It's gorgeous. It's colorful. Yeah, man, I'm liking it a lot. I can't wait to dive back into it after the show.
Nice. Now, Nintendo Direct, did you get your hands on Rage 2?
Did not get my hands on Rage 2. I've been too busy trying to get through my backlog and being good at Super Smash Brothers, which isn't working out so well. But trying to get to my backlog first. So I have literally put myself on a no new games.
Okay, that makes sense, dude. If it's gonna sit in the wrapper or sit on digital download that you didn't play it doesn't make sense to go through the money. I am gonna say this though. What are your opinions based on what you've seen, what you've heard? Do you think that maybe the mainstream media kind of overblew how terrible this game is supposed to be? Because a 6 is not a good score. I don't give a shit what you say.
Yeah, it's not a good score. And from everything that I've heard from every person that I've talked to about this game, they are vouching for this game. And these are people that I trust. You know what I mean? It's not just anybody out there. These are real people, real friends of mine that I game with that I trust, that say, yo, this game is good. You need to play it. It is a good game. In which Shady kind of hit on it. I feel like most of these reviews, and especially in this gaming industry, we're not even just talking about media crunch. There's just crunch everywhere in the gaming industry because everybody's got to get the next game out or the next game review out or the next article out. And I feel like they just run through these and rush through these reviews, just to get the review out because they have to, because it's their job. And then at the end of the day, like Shady said, they missed the whole point of the game. They rushed through it. They didn't really get the full experience. And here comes a bad score. That affects the game. Nobody's going to buy the game based on the score because nobody, God forbid, them think for themselves and actually go play the game. You know what I mean? Like, God forbid that. And so I just think that has a lot to do with it. I think that right there had a lot to do with why the score is bad. Because from what I'm hearing from everybody that I've talked to, it's a good game. And I mean, this is also Bethesda minus Fallout 76, but Bethesda doesn't, go get behind bad games very often. So
No.
Right. Great point.
As well. So I just think, it comes down to media crunch. They were rushing through it. They didn't play the game the way it was intended to be played. They didn't play the game by the quote unquote the creative vision of the developers, and so therefore they missed out on it and get out bad scores.
Well, Nick, as a big Nintendo guy, could you imagine if you were reading like Mario or Zelda or Mario Kart or Smash Bros. Reviews that were holding those games' story against them? Mario's fun, it controls great, the graphics are nice, it's smooth, but he's still saving the princess. So, I mean, 6 out of 10. You know what I'm like? Are you out of your minds? It's got to stop. Nintendo gets almost the fairest shake. They get the fairest shake as far as reviews, and I think it's because they go the farthest back. Everyone who's played games since the 80s is a Nintendo fan in some fashion, and they get the fairest shake. The games are looked at as video games for fun, and they get a fair shake as far as reviews. Yet other games like Rage are all of a sudden like, hey, where's that bombastic story? That points off instantaneously. It's
Take 4 points off, you're a 6.
That's right. It's gotten out of hand. I would like to see more reviewers look at more games the same way they look at Nintendo games and be like, are you having a good time with the gameplay?
Fun factor. Fun factor is
right?
important.
Honestly, games are fun, dog. Like, for real, games are supposed to be fun.
Right.
You're supposed to enjoy. You're supposed to be entertained. So like, I absolutely like one. Yes, story is important. There are some story narrative driven games that are very important in the industry. Like games have come out, God of War, that's very story important. Games like that are Game of the Year candidates. Red Dead Redemption, very important narrative driven games. But there are also games out there that are just meant to be fun and mindless fun. Rage seems to be one of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. It's just a mindless tear across the world fun.
Tear across the world fun. And you know what? Another game that's supposed to be like that? Borderlands 3. And that game better get good reviews.
Yeah, it doesn't help that Randy Pritchard is choking people out, but that's another story for another time. Indie Gamer, I want to get your opinion on this, dude. Listen, did you play Rage 2?
I haven't, unfortunately.
Okay, no, that's okay. That's fine. But listen, again, everyone has an opinion on this panel. It's the way it works. Everyone gets their shot to talk with no time limit.
Cool, man.
From what you see, from what you've read, from the video, because the video, first of all, everyone that's anyone is putting this on Twitter. So if you don't frequent YouTube, that's okay. Everyone's video that I have seen has been like, holy shit, I can't wait to get to that part. What have you seen from Rage 2? Are you excited to eventually pick it up? And do you think that the media might have gotten it wrong this time?
I definitely do. And I have seen quite a lot of it, actually. I just haven't picked it up myself because I've been working so much lately. But that's a depressing story, which we'll leave for another day. But yeah, no, I've been like working and watching, as you probably been able to tell. And I've watched several reviews on it, and I've also watched someone streaming it as well. So I got quite a good taste for it. And as a massive fan of Doom as 2016, I can tell you that I think it looks absolutely awesome, to be honest, and I definitely will pick it up at some point. It is a shame to see all the negative reviews. I've seen quite a few positives as well, though. Quite a few positive reviews. I think a lot of people are stating the shortcomings that it does have. I won't be able to judge it for myself, obviously, without playing it, but a lot of people have said that I've seen have said, the things that you said, they've said like maybe the story's a bit shallow, which I don't think is anything to worry about at all, because that's the whole point
It's an
of the
ID
game.
I think you kind of know that going in.
Yeah, I mean, the gameplay, I've heard someone say who I trust, the gameplay is even better than Doom 2016, and that is a massive statement in my eyes, because Doom 2016's gameplay is absolutely awesome, to be honest. So if it is better than that, then I'm definitely all in. Basically,
you know me, Indy. I'm a big Doom guy.
Yeah,
and
I know.
I think it's very comparable. It's extremely tight,
Sure.
but I think Doom has a smoother flow. This game, I find, is I don't want to. I gotta say it's rigid, but that's a bad word. It's just extremely tight. Where Doom, it was just a very nice flow. So I think Doom still does feel better. Be honest, but Rage 2 is so close behind.
Yeah. To be honest, I thought Doom looked better, but then you can't tell when you're actually not playing. But yeah, it's hard to beat the almighty Doom, and obviously Doom Eternal coming up later this year, which we will talk about later, I believe. But yeah, Rage 2 looks good. I've heard people say that the open world is a bit barren, and although it's obviously a post-apocalyptic world, but I think maybe if it is it not varied enough? Again, I'm not going to comment on other people's comments, but like that's the kind of things I've heard. But it sure does look like a lot of fun, and it's got that larger than life feel to it. Absolutely.
Especially with finding the arcs, you get all these wicked powers, which I've only found like 7 or 8 of them. I think there's like 20 of them in there. I can't wait to find them all.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen as well, like id Software's side of it is looking awesome. I love id and what they do. Maybe the Avalanche side of things is the thing that would hold it back for me, but I'm not going to judge. That's just me speculating. I'm not judging it now because I haven't played it again. But like, I know that to me, it looks like id have nailed it down big time, and I'm looking forward to playing the gameplay side of it and getting stuck in on that when I get some time back in my life.
Okay.
But yeah, cheers.
No problem. Zemi, I want to get your opinion on this. I know you have a backlog that's taller than a skyscraper. But first of all, did you get Rage 2?
No,
you didn't. No. Okay, so what you've seen from Rage 2, what you've heard about people talk about on social media, what you've seen, of course, in the critical score of it from the media. Obviously, I don't think. I mean, the worst I've heard of Rage is that it's fun. I haven't heard that it's terrible, it's buggy, it's clippy, it's. Do you think that this is one of those situations where maybe the media didn't have enough time to put into the game because they got it late and they have to be the first one to get a review out?
I mean, like from my point of view, generally speaking, I mean, you can typically within the first couple of hours of playing a game, you can kind of see how the game's going to play out, unless there's a major twist halfway through the game and like multiple new game mechanics get introduced and all sorts of different things.
What do you say? I don't think
it was a time requirement or anything like that. Generally speaking, I try to stay as objective as possible. I haven't played the game yet. I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on the game, regardless of what any review is saying. But with that being said, I do pay attention to what people are saying bad about the game. And typically the things that they're talking about that they don't like are, generally speaking, same, versus all the reviews. Even a positive review is still talking about the negative things that these people who have a real problem with the game are talking about. They're just spinning it off in a more positive way, which is perfectly fine. But generally speaking, I think the biggest issue right here is that, too many people are paying attention to the score and not what is actually getting wrote down on the page. And I think another really big issue is that too many people are going to look for the review of a game that they've already purchased. Reviews are meant for people who haven't purchased the game. And it's like, I understand your guys' side of the argument that you play the game, you really enjoyed the game. And if I played it, I would probably really enjoy it as well. And you guys knew what you were getting into from the very, very beginning. But reviews aren't meant for you. Reviews are meant for, the consumers who don't pay attention,
uninformed,
basically. Exactly. And so it's important to put in those, every negative aspect of a review. It's also important to put in every single positive aspect. And, generally speaking, I think a big reason why there's so much, uproar right now is because too many, people who have already purchased the game are looking at, these reviews whenever they really have no business in doing so. I mean, and it really doesn't make any sense. I mean, if you went out and bought a vacuum cleaner and you use it, are you then going to go look up the review for the vacuum cleaner? You're not. right?
No, you're right. That makes sense.
No, you're right.
That
But
makes
do you
sense.
think if they bring up story in a review, don't you think that's 100%
Well,
opinion? They could just leave it as there's a story, right?
You know, I understand, Shady, that you do not like stories. I love
No,
stories. You don't.
that's not it. That's not it. That's not it.
No. But from the main template that we review games, you know, we generally review it off of the story, off of the gameplay, off of the sound, off of the graphics, and then sometimes we review it off of the replay value and cost, right? Out of those categories, each of those needs to get a score. And if the story isn't that good, then it's going to reduce the score of the
unless it's Mario, right? Or Mario Kart or something. Like, I mean, like, it's a video game. This isn't a movie or a book. So I think the story should be so secondary, if even that, in a review. It should just be like, there is a story, and that's that. It'll tell you what it is. It's a sci-fi story. You're a space marine. You're killing aliens. But as soon as they say it's good or it's bad, telling you how long it lasted, maybe. But any opinion on there is just that. It's opinion. It's not really informing anyone outside of that person's own take on if they enjoyed that story or not, right?
It's true, and that's not, because, you know, some stories are more cliche, some stories are more original. You know, there's a certain plot, you know, line that should be, you know, followed. There should be a climax, you know, roughly, you know, a little bit after the middle of the story. You know, there's certain things about the story that people look at and people look for. And at the end of the game, you know, at the end of the day, video games is art. You know, a lot of people want a good story in a game. A lot of people want to know if the game has a good story. And, you know, you're right. You know, some stories can be more objective than others, but generally speaking, knowing if there's, you know, anything super cliche, or, you know, knowing if, you know, the voice acting is really corny, if the dialogue was written well, if the character arcs are, you know, make sense, you know, things like that, you know, they're a little bit less objective in a lot of ways. You know,
some of that can certainly be, but some of that was objective stuff. Quality of voice acting, as an example. But that's not the point. Continue with what you're going. I didn't mean to interrupt you there, bro.
No, you're fine. I mean, you know, that's just really my take on it. You know, I haven't played Rage 2 yet. I've been busy reviewing A Plague Tale and Sniper Elite V2 and Feudal Alloy. I've been super busy doing those. Nice. And so I just haven't had the chance of getting a copy of Rage 2. But, you know, I just think it's really important that, you know, we all expect reviewers to stay objective, but I think it's also important for gamers to stay objective as well. And just because you absolutely love a game doesn't mean that it's for everyone else. And, you know, I mean, there's been games that got rated a 3 that I absolutely loved, but I definitely saw why other people wouldn't enjoy that game, you know? So I don't know. That's just my take on
Depends
it.
on your priorities, doesn't it?
It makes sense. It makes sense. Anybody want to add anything before we get to move on to the next topic?
Nah.
All right. Well, listen, anyway, you know what? You know, we're going to kind of segue once again. You know, this is a story that I pulled from the pages of Gaming Bolt. And I don't necessarily want to go into the score, but I want to go about whether or not the company deserves to redeem themselves on the bad score. And I'm talking, of course, of Days Gone. Days Gone got beat up in the media, got a lot of 6s, a lot of 5s. I think it's sitting at like a 7.1, I think, on Metacritic. I'm not exactly sure because, you know, these scores change. And, you know, but, you know, by the time of this show started, I had 30 plus hours into it. And, you know, I don't think it's a great game, not even remotely close. I think it's a good game. I think it's a game that showed a lot of promise. The story, okay, you know, not one of Sony's best stories. I mean, like I said, I bought the collector's edition, so I'm heavily invested in the game. I like I said, 30 hours in, I'm not even halfway done with the game. That's a little frustrating. I don't rush through these games, but the grind on these games to level up is just, my God, it's like pulling your own teeth out and doing the dental work. It's just. It's could be very frustrating if you're a guy like me who enjoys that. I mean, you know what you're going to get with a Sony first party game, and I love every one of them. This is one I don't love as much. I'm enjoying it, yes, but it's just.
I was going to say, when you say grind, is it just a length issue, or are you finding you're slogging through the content?
It's like walking through the mud to level up, no matter what you do. Look, I'm 30 hours in, folks. I have the same AK-47 I found in hour 2.
Ooh,
you know what I'm saying? You know, you have to get these points for each of the communities, and then you have to do things to get the guns unlocked, to buy them. It's just, you're running out of gas. You constantly, there's a lot of grind to the story, but that's, again, not what we're going to talk about. You know, they posed a question, and I thought it would be a fun topic to talk about. Their question was simply, does Sony Ben deserve a second chance with Days Gone 2? And I'm gonna, of course, say absolutely. I believe that they do, simply because of a couple of factors. One, Uncharted 1 by the very infamous and fantastic developer Naughty Dog was not a great game, folks. It was a good game. Uncharted 2, on the other hand, was a masterpiece. Still my favorite PlayStation 3 game. Beat the hell out of it there. Beat the hell out of it when they came out for the PlayStation 4 in the collection. Completely loved jumping into that head first. And I think that they have so much groundwork done with Days Gone that they could, in fact, build upon what failed and what worked. And I'll go to, I'll go in reverse order. Zemi, I want to get your opinion on this real quick. I don't know whether, I think you have just an Xbox. You didn't play Days Gone, and that's fine. But as we know, and this has been confirmed by numerous sources, Days Gone has outsold God of War in Japan by leaps and bounds. It's closing in to pass Horizon Zero Dawn as well as Uncharted 4, and it passed Detroit Become Human. That's a big deal. So the game is selling well. There are issues with the game. There's no doubt about it. Do you think, though, with the positive sales and with these so-so reviews, do you think that Sony Ben deserves redemption on Days Gone 2?
Yeah, to be honest with you, honestly, I really don't know. I don't think that there's really enough information out. I mean, I understand that it's been, top of the charts in the UK leaderboards for, for the last 3 weeks.
Yes.
Once again, that's one region. And, this is springtime. Springtime typically isn't, there's not a whole lot of competition. And then, even for Japan, I mean, I would imagine Japan's probably one of PlayStation's biggest markets for selling games and consoles and stuff like that. And so, the news that it outsold God of War is absolutely amazing, but that's only in Japan, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So I just don't think that there's really enough information yet. I mean, because it's really just a money thing, it could possibly be a review thing because, businessmen, the high up executives at Sony, the people who make these choices about, like the financial decisions of where they're going to send money to, they may look at all these reviews and they may say, it's not a smart choice, never playing the game, never really paying attention to what other gamers really like about the game, because a lot of these businessmen are just so out of tune with how, the gaming industry actually works. But I think more importantly, it's going to be a financial thing. In the long run, how much money will this game make versus other PlayStation exclusives and other markets and stuff? And we just don't have those numbers yet. So, as of right now, I don't really know which way. I mean, I hope it does. I really do. And then another thing that you mentioned as well with Uncharted is, if I'm not mistaken, that first Uncharted game came out in like 2006, 2007. The gaming industry has changed, quite a lot since then. So, the situation of them making a new Uncharted game then, doesn't necessarily translate over here into, 2019. So I don't know, but I really hope that they do. I'm never going to play it because the game looks too scary and I don't own a PlayStation. So, but I hope they do. I mean, especially for the fans that are enjoying the series.
Yeah, no, it makes me, a lot of what you said makes a lot of sense. Indie Gamer, I want to go to you, my brother. Obviously, when I see this game, whether it's a one and done or not, I look back at the Order 1886, which I absolutely loved. I thought it was graphically, it's still a fantastic looking game, and it's old as hell. I mean, it was the combat wasn't the greatest, and the fact that you fought the werewolves, they all seem the same, and I get that. But if they're given an opportunity to do a sequel, I think it would have been better, and they never got that chance. I'm hoping that doesn't happen to Sony Bend. Because Sony's notorious for moving away and not bringing it back. From what you've heard, do you think that they deserve a redemption again for Days Gone 2, considering that the sales have been very strong?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to go with the money, I think. But with the genre of zombies, etc. It just seems to have a massive appeal, and it seems to sell big time by the look of things. I mean, they've already got The Last of Us in that genre as well. But yeah, it's a tricky one. Like I say, I mean, like I haven't played the game. I don't own a PlayStation, but to be honest, it does look like a good game from what I have seen. And they're going to go. I think they're going to go with the figures at the end of the day. If it sells well, then and creatively, if something they want to do, investigate it again and get into again, then I think then why not go for another one? But I feel like it's a bit stale. The genre, personally, this is just a very personal opinion. I feel like the genre of zombies, it's a bit tiresome for me personally. I don't know, it's been done so much, but if they can put a twist on it or something, a new take on that, but that would be, I think it would make it a lot more interesting, but seems to be selling. So what am I to say? You know what I mean?
Listen, it's your opinion. You're absolutely entitled. I mean, again, zombies have been raked over the coals, so to speak.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard about the game, like you were saying, it takes a grind to get through. I mean, I've heard people say it takes about 15 hours before you actually start playing the game. Pretty much.
Yeah, it's a long time, dude. It's
whoa.
You got to really put some time into that before you actually technically start the game. You're starting the game, folks. You're not just sitting there 15 hours twiddling your thumbs. But what he's saying is it's just. There's some bad pacing issues. I'm not saying the game is not fun. I've enjoyed it. The hordes are horrifying when you come across them, and you could be just going down the road on your bike, and boom, they come out of the woods or out of a train, and you're like, holy shit, what do I do? And they'll just tear you to pieces, and but there's a bit of a grind. I mean, that's a great point. Nintendo Director, I want to get your opinion on this. Obviously, strong sales usually dictate whether or not a sequel is going to be coming, and it is, like I said, it's doing extremely well overseas, in the UK for sure. It sold decently here, from what I understand. I mean, I think Sony would consider it a hit. And again, if I wasn't on the board, I'd be like, yeah, let's get a Days Gone 2, but we have to make sure that they fix a few things. What do you think about that?
I mean, I kind of expected the game to do well, just because Sony has a decent, people that have Sony consoles, for the most part, they're following. They buy any exclusive that they put out, so I expected it to have to do pretty decent. The review scores were a bit surprising because I've kind of known. Recently, Sony has gotten nothing but pretty decent scores on games. So to see scores on this game kind of be where they are is surprising. But at the same time, we kind of knew about this game for a while, and it kept getting pushed back. So, it's like, well, now maybe that's why, because maybe the game wasn't exactly ready. Maybe it did have issues, pacing issues, whatnot. But I would expect them to have a sequel coming, especially with, like you said, the numbers that drive the sales. Like you said, it's not a bad game. It's a good game. It's not a great game, but it's a good game. You know what I mean? If once they fix the pacing issues and they go back to the drawing board and say, okay, this is what we need to fix for the next one, I think they'll be okay. And I would expect one. I'm just not a big fan of the zombie genre, as Indy said. It's one of those things that has just been done over and over and over and over again, to the point that I'm just kind of just like, yeah. So for me, my wife asked, hey, can we get Days Gone? And that was one game that I'm like, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the zombie thing anymore. It's kind of old. We may get it if it gets discounted later, but that's one game that she did want, but I would hard pass on it that myself. But to your point, I do expect a sequel to come out I expect them to fix the issues if they do come out with one. Like you said, the sales numbers are there, and Sony will probably do it.
Yeah, well, again, for Sony, it's definitely the money, and they're making money hand over fist with this game. So Shady, listen, I know you're a zombie guy. I know that you like story-driven narratives. I know that you like to appreciate the world. Now, the world for Days Gone is big. I mean, obviously, it's it's set in a like a forest type area. You have some city, like town like environments to go through, a lot of open road because you're riding a bike, so you need a lot of road to ride on. Do you think that Sony Bend deserves the chance to make a second one?
I do. I think they've earned it. I really do. Like, I went first. You mentioned, I love story-driven games to a point, as you've heard me even speak tonight. Earlier, just even in this own conversation here, you brought up The Order.
Right.
And I think that game fits perfectly into what I'm not a fan of seeing in games, where the story was really good. I enjoyed the cutscenes. Like, I watched someone play that game. I didn't play it myself, but you could just see that it didn't control the best. It just wasn't that innovative of gameplay when the gameplay was happening. Most of that game was its story and its graphics. And as far as a video game is concerned, I think those are the wrong two things to put first forward in a game like that. It's not a Telltale game where the story is obviously very important, right? That is a shooter. And I think that game, its sales and its reaction of the community kind of proves my point a little bit, where story is good when the gameplay is fun. But when the gameplay is not so fun and stuff, story can only go so far. And I think that translates to a lot of people out there. Obviously, I can't speak for them. But I do think that Sony Bend has most certainly earned a sequel if they want to make it, of course.
Yeah, no, of course. That was a great point.
They do. I wasn't a fan of the promotional material of the game, honestly. I thought it relied a little too heavily on the horde mechanic and showing you running away and slicing tarps and knocking off logs and, all these setup moments in the environment. And I was just kind of like, if this is the game, it just feels like you're going to be rinse and repeating this exact same loop over and over. And I felt that it was going to get old. Basically running towards the camera as a million zombies run at you and you just knock things onto them. And turns out that the game is much, 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 much more than that. It is a massive open world. It's very Far Cry-ish on its scavenging and upgrading. And as you labeled it, the grind. And when a grind in a game, for me, I'll use Far Cry or Destiny or something like that as an example, where they're like, go out in the world and kill 30 of these things. If the gunplay is tight and it's looking good while I'm doing it, man, I like doing that. I want just a reason to go out and play the game.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be some giant 10-minute, story-driven cutscene to get me to do it. It just needs to be kind of like, go and do this because we would like you to do it. And that's why I like achievements, is a lot of them are just kind of like, you need to try and get a triple kill with this gun. All right, neat. That's sort of like challenge accepted. Yeah. And I go out and I play the game in order to do it. And I'm hearing that this is what a lot of it is. While there is some story there, it's a bit disjointed and spread out, but it does have a lot of the gameplay loop that I actually do enjoy. And a lot of what I've seen after the game, bugs aside, because they have really gone to town on the patchwork from this game.
Yeah, there's a patch almost every day.
That's right. So some people will write the game off because of that, whereas I'm not that type of
No, I agree with you. They're being proactive.
Like, this is awesome, and the game is getting better and better. And the type of gamer I am on the Sony platform is when I do pick up this game in the used market, likely from a friend, that's typically what we do, it'll be all patched up and running great. So I look forward to that. I do like what I see in a lot of it. There's some people who think it's a little bit padded. I think it's because they're like, I think you even mentioned yourself, you were kind of looking for the tighter narrative that Sony is kind of established already.
Right. Pretty much what you expect with their first party games.
Whereas my favorite Sony game this gen has been Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yep, I'm right there with you. Loved every second I was in that world.
And it's because of the gameplay.
Yes.
The gameplay loop was great. It was very Far Cry-ish at the same time as Tomb Raider-y mixed together, and I just thought it was a perfect blend. It was gorgeous. I love sneaking in the bushes and stealth killing the robot dinosaurs and stuff. It was a really, 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 really good gameplay mechanic, which allowed me to overlook some of its missteps in its storytelling and whatnot. That didn't bother me because the game was just so much fun to play. And I think that from what I've seen of Days Gone, that it would also fit the mold because it does just reward the, hey, go wherever you want and take the story at your pace and explore and, collect the things to upgrade your equipment. I do like that gameplay mechanic. This game seems to be bringing it. I think the studio could learn from their mistakes and improve on the sequel. Outside of what Zemi said earlier with, it's a different time period now. If anything, I think the time period we're in now is the age of the sequel. Like
Yeah, sure.
these companies don't necessarily enjoy taking gigantic risk. We've seen less brand new IP in general across the board this gen than we did last gen in comparison. And we're getting a lot of sequels, and a lot of the fans, we want sequels. I mean, I don't think every game needs a sequel. Even if people want it, I'm fine with a game being a one-off, even if it leaves the ending a little bit open to the imagination. I like that too. Every game doesn't have to have an obvious end to the story. I'm cool with some open-ended stuff that lets my imagination sort of run a little bit wild, and that's it. But I'm glad the game has seen some success. I'm glad that they have been fixing it after it's out, and it didn't just release a buggy mess and stay a buggy mess. And I'm happy for the people that are enjoying it beyond some of the negativity that's been going around on it. I do wish that, again, when it comes to exclusive games, it's hard to get a real honest opinion from a lot of people. I find they're either unfairly defending it or maybe unjustly hating on it, depending on what side of the spectrum they find themselves sitting on. Or maybe they just really, really come off as a neutral. Some people are neutral, of course, not to say that none are, but it's hard to get legit opinions on exclusive titles. So it would have been nice if maybe it wasn't. People would have accepted, I think, that it was a good game with potential, not a terrible game, and not a unbelievable game either. But I look forward to playing it eventually.
All right, cool. Well, listen, real quick, Gotham Guy drops an outstanding $5 super chat. He says, I think Days Gone was criticized because the marketing tried to sell it as a Last of Us type game when it's not that. And that's not what they got. Yeah, and you're correct on that. I agree 100%. I think that it was sold as a Last of Us light, and it's really resource heavy management. If you're not into, like, people give oh my God, State of Decay crap for all the resource management. This is just like that. You accept no one's dying from food.
Yeah, I agree on that marketing. The marketing looks more like actually World War Z turned out to be.
Maybe. Yeah.
Like it's constant hordes in World War Z, whereas this game, like you say, it's not that. That's in the game, but it's not what it's leaning on.
No, that's a great point. But I want to move on to the next topic. We have 2 or 3, depending on how the time plays out. In the story that I pulled from Game Rant, when you say Rocksteady, I'm not talking about the guy from the Ninja Turtles. No, I'm talking about the developer known for, of course, the Arkham series, which, in my opinion, are probably the best superhero games ever released. And I can, some people will argue I loved Spider-Man on the PS4, thought it was fantastic. But the Arkham games, the 3 that they did have been synonymous with some of the best fighting mechanics in the history of gaming. We know that WB Montreal is working on, apparently and supposedly, the Court of Owls called Arkham Crisis, which, oh my God, I hope that that's true.
Yeah.
And of course, we heard that, and this would be a bit of a bummer, folks. I mean, I don't know what the game looks like, but I'm going to tell you right now that the Rocksteady was working on a Suicide Squad game, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't know why. But in a story that I pulled once again from Game Rant, some information leaked by accidentally, on purpose, however you want to look at it, that they are apparently working on the long-rumored Justice League game. And it's safe to say, folks, that, gamers have been wondering what Rocksteady has been up to, because they have been, I'm talking about dead silent, nothing, man. And I don't know how.
Long time.
Yeah, quite a. I mean, when did the last Arkham game come out?
Man,
2015?
It's been very close to 5 years, I think.
2 houses ago, man.
Yeah, so I mean,
4 or 5
we're
years.
talking a significant amount of time with silence. I don't know how they do it, because I wouldn't know if I couldn't talk. But I'm gonna say this. There had been serious leaks of, when we just talked about them, about the different games coming. Now, thanks to the latest leak that we're going to talk about, which of course is the fact that Justice League title may be also in the works, because I don't know the size of Rocksteady. I don't know if they could do 2 games at once. I think everybody wants a Justice League game, but The latest rumor comes to us by the way of Eddie Stubbington, who apparently is joining Rocksteady Studio as the quality assurance in the quality assurance department. And initially, Stubbington included a GIF of the DC comic hero and villain lineup with his announcement and then later changed it. It was taken down and changed to a GIF of Jonah Hill excitedly screaming. Now, the original tweet was live long enough, of course, for people to take pictures, screenshots, and otherwise, and post it. And this is what he had to say. He says, so, like S, a lot of O's with dots. I guess now is a good time to say next week I'm joining the awesome team at Rocksteady Games in the Q&A team, and he has a picture of the Justice League. Now, I'm going to be honest. Seeing this, okay, hearing the rumors of the Justice League game that was supposedly been in development for seemingly 4 years, I thought I didn't immediately get that that's what he was referring to. I think what he was referring to was that he was joining a Justice League-esque team in Rocksteady. But with that said, the freaking rumor caught fire and everyone was talking about it. And I thought it'd be a fun topic because, to be honest with you, a Suicide Squad game to me, regardless of how good it's going to be, sounds like a bummer. I'm going to be honest with you. I would rather play as Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, The Flash, Batman. You just keep it going. Martian Manhunter, whoever you want to add to the Justice League. I would more enjoy using those characters. Shady, I'm going to bring it right back to you, my brother. After seeing this tweet, after reading the notes that I sent you, do you get the same feeling as me with that he was referring to the team that he's working for being as stout as the Justice League? Or do you think that he actually was like, oh shit, I shouldn't have said anything?
You know, it might be a bit of both. We won't know until they come out and say something that's right. But I mean, they might have meant it as a bit of both, where he's joining the Justice League of developers in their mind, of course, and they're working on, a game that's their hint. But maybe he didn't pass it up a chain enough and they asked him to take it down, or they're not making a game like this, and all of the questions and false expectations that'll be built up when they do reveal what they're making might not have the punch that they're hoping for, because someone, some influencer out there, some big dog gets a hold of the rumor and really runs with the Justice League rumor because of this picture. So I'm not sure why they took it down, but it certainly would be interesting. Rocksteady has been silent, like I said, for almost 5 years or something like that, man, which is nuts. Like, if you're a kid and your parent works at that game company, you got to think they're like an international spy or something like that. Like, I can't talk about it, son. It's all a secret. You're not allowed to know, because you can't trust your kid with telling him you're working on a new Batman game. He's going to go and tell his friends, and then we all know within a day on the internet and Twitter. So, to keep what you're working on a secret from everyone you know for years has got to be, I don't even know, because I've never had to do it. It's got to be a hell of a thing to do. Like, wow, I can only imagine the dreams these guys have, and it's just letting weight off their shoulders. Like, oh, finally.
Yeah.
So, that Court of Owls game, I don't know much about the story of Court of Owls. Zocker87 in the community has sort of filled it in from what I know. He's a big comic guy, and it sounds really good. Like, I love those Batman Arkham games. I think Rocksteady is the best when it comes to a superhero game, and they've only done Batman. But I already know that even if it was just almost a reskin with some powers brought in and a few differences, and it was essentially that game fighting engine, my God, they'll all be incredible, just incredible. They didn't invent that fight engine per se. There are other games going way back that are fight similar with attack in different directions and then push a button to counter and block and stuff. But I think Batman absolutely perfected it. It is one of the most empowering fighting systems in all of gaming, where you as one guy can competently take on anywhere from 1 to literally 20 plus guys. If you're playing like Shadow of War, for instance, or even Mad Max uses the same one, you can just efficiently and in a badass way lay waste, man. And I heard a lot of people out there that don't like the fighting system. They think it's boring. I can just mash X my way through the whole game. And I'm like, that's a you problem. That's like if I give you a sandbox and a whole bunch of toys and I come back and you've used just the shovel. That's it. Nothing. No buckets full of sand. No towers are being built. No moats are dug. Damn it, you're a boring person. Every fight that I get into in Batman, I'm trying to use as many gadgets as I possibly can and vary up my moves and just basically make my own mini movie. My own cinematic is playing out via my gameplay, and my God, I've come across nothing else like it. It's so good. So I love it with the new Batman stuff. As I'm different with the Suicide Squad. I think a lot of people are down on that rumor, maybe because the movie sucked ass.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if the movie was insane and we all loved it and it was up there with the Marvel greats, I think we'd have a different opinion on the news or rumors that there might be a Suicide Squad game. But I don't think it's going to have anything to do with that movie at all.
Yeah.
I think Batman has one of
from the comics for sure.
Yeah. I think Batman has one of, if not the best, rogues gallery in all of comics. And to have a game centered around being able to play as some really, really bad people, quasi good because they're the Suicide Squad at the time. But I mean, I think there could be some really, really fun gameplay mechanics brought in for all these different villains that you'll get to play as. I really enjoyed playing as Harley Quinn or Joker in the Batman series and some of the DLC. I liked it. So I'm super excited to see what they bring. If they do come out and we're like, we also have a Justice League, then I don't know what to say, man. DC might be not doing as well on the movie front, but they're going to come out swinging and nailing it on the game front with just those 2 announcements, if not all 3. Whereas Marvel seems to have, I don't know, forgot video games exist, sort of. I hope they pick it up over there too and we see something big from Crystal Dynamics. But Rocksteady has got my faith that they're going to deliver something just absolutely phenomenal, whatever it is. And if it's 3 games, oh my God, I'm slobbering over here. I'm so ecstatic. Like the news and the rumors have me big time excited. I cannot wait for E3. It's like 3 weeks away, just over. Oh, I'm hyped.
Nice. Well, listen, well said as usual, my brother. I want to go to Nintendo Direct. Justice League. This has been a rumor that's been hot for quite some time, for years.
Yes.
And I got to be honest with you. I don't want to sound like I'm a spoiled brat, but I think Rocksteady is doing a disservice to their fan base, just keeping mum. I really wish they would just let us know something. You don't want to give out the title, fine, but let us know that you're working on something, that you're not making Ping Pong 2. You know what I'm saying? Right. What are your takes on this dude that tweeted it, had to take it down, retweeted with something else? Do you think there's any smoke where there's or fire where there's smoke?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of smoke here. I don't know what exactly they're working on. I hope it's a Justice League game, but I'm with you, man. They've been so quiet, and we've heard these rumors come out for the last year of what they're working on. It's a Superman game. No, it's not a Superman game. It's a Justice League game. No, it's not. It might be Suicide Squad, and so for me, I'm kind of just tired of speculating, and I'm just ready for the news. So
yes, me
for
too.
Me, it's just like, okay, cool, whatever. We're hearing this, we're hearing that. I'm not gonna believe it until I see it. Let me just go ahead and play these other games until they actually make an announcement at E3. You know what I mean? And that's my stance on it. I think there might be smoke where there's fire because if it wasn't that big of a deal, then why did you have to take it down in the first place?
Yep.
That's the way I look at it, and so. Somebody was probably like, yo, you need to take that down real quick. You can't post that. Or maybe he himself thought, I don't want to get in trouble. Let me take this down. Either way, it had to come down for a reason that leads me to believe that he's somewhat close to, leaking out some information that has to do with, Justice League or something. So what I'm looking forward to, he said the QA team. And so I'm thinking at what part of the development do they bring a QA team in? Is it toward the end? Is it toward the middle? I
think it's more towards the end. If I had to guess,
right. So where is it? And if it is toward the end, and they're doing QA and they're trying to figure out, find the bugs and all that stuff in the game, that means that we're pretty close to an announcement. Yeah. So E3, we will see. I'm looking very, very much looking forward to it. But until then, I'm going to just keep my expectations down until there is an announcement made.
That's actually well said. I mean, I can't because I'm such a big superhero nerd, but Indie Gamer, I want to get your opinion on this, dude. I mean, listen, what Nintendo Direct was just saying about, well, if it wasn't a big deal, then why make them pull it down? And of course, Shady brought up a great point. Well, you don't want to have high expectations and disappoint people, but for crying out loud, they've disappointed me for years because I don't know what the hell they're working on.
Yeah.
But what are your takes on this? Do you think, again, I'll pose the question to you, is there smoke where there's fire or vice versa?
Well, it's definitely guilty behavior taking it down, isn't it? Like that. I mean, it does make them look very guilty, and it looks just a little bit suspect, like there could be something there. Yeah, I mean, personally, I would love to see something different than Batman. Personally, I mean, I think I've got Batman fatigue as well as
I think everybody does. I agree.
Yeah, I think there's so much they can do. There's so many avenues they could go down, and so like a Wonder Woman game would be really cool. Like just anything else would be great. I think they could, like Shady said, there's that they've literally pretty much created an awesome world that you just take another great superhero, pop them in their world, and I think it could be an amazing game. They've got the archetype set up, you know what I mean? I think they could do awesome things. I personally am not the biggest superhero guy. I don't play every superhero game out there. It's I've played the Arkham games, a couple of them. Do really enjoy that. I like that the grittiness they have with the Batman games. It's really cool. I mean, I'd love to see an announcement, but I feel like I've been thinking about this one for such a long time. It's like it's been talked about. I can't even remember how long. It's just forever almost. You know what I mean? It's like I wish that something would just pop up and like just give us some sort of, we're making something, anything, just basically give us some sort of sign that we know what track they're going down. I think we just need that. We deserve that as gamers. It'd be nice to know. And yeah, it'd be good to hear that it's some sort of other game other than Batman, like a Wonder Woman. I think would be quite a cool one to go down the route of. Yeah.
Okay, nice. Well, again, great point as always. Zemi, I know that you're not the biggest superhero fan, but more specifically to the point where a guy announces he's going to work for Rocksteady. Of course, it's an exciting time for him. I mean, my God, I would be excited, if I was just walking into the offices, let alone working for them. He puts up a tweet. He immediately is, from what we understand, was told to take down the tweet, and he replaces it with a Jonah Hill gif, which is a funny one. It's an excited one, but at the same time, it just makes me scratch the head, man. Or scratch that itch of, I really want a Justice League game. What were your takeaways from this story, dude?
Well, I mean, like So Shady said, I think it can really go either way. It's, it can either be true or it can, just be like a massive faux pas on that guy. Honestly, I'm more leaning towards it's probably he just messed up in the sense that they're probably not working on a Justice League game. I mean, they could be. I mean, what do I know? But that's just what I'm leaning towards. I think he was super excited. He's probably a really nerdy guy that loves superheroes and stuff. And he's so excited to go to a company that's making superhero games, and he probably just geeked out like, man, I'm joining the Justice League, and he posted it out, and then he realized that people could possibly take that the wrong way, and then so he removed it because they don't want to build up expectations that are then going to get crushed whenever their next game comes out. I think it's definitely more likely that we're going to see a Batman game than anything. With that being said, I don't really like superheroes. I couldn't even tell you when the last time was that I actually played a superhero game. But knowing from what I know, usually there's a lot more Marvel games that come out. Just from what I see, I don't really know this, like the statistics on it, but I think it's excellent that DC is going to hopefully be getting a new game coming out soon.
Yeah, no, listen, regardless of what they're working on, it's going to be quality. Even if it's a Suicide Squad, I'm sure it's going to be a great game, one way or another. Just maybe not the theme I wanted. But you know what? Let's close out today's outstanding and ridiculous, nearly 200 people watching live show with some Doom Eternal news. And that's a big deal for a lot of reasons. First of all, QuakeCon. is going to Europe, and it's the first time, from what I understand. And the ID Software upcoming shooter, the follow-up to Doom 2016, will be playable by the masses, and that's a big deal. Everyone is excited for this game. And listen, outside of Rage 2, which released this week, Doom Eternal is definitely one of the most highly anticipated games coming out from not only Bethesda, but in this particular year. I think it's going to be as big, possibly bigger, than Doom 2016 on the heels of how great that game was. And of course, this is a story I pulled from, once again, Gaming Bolt. QuakeCon Europe will be held in London on July 26th and 27th, where ID Software's brutal first-person shooter will be, of course, playable. And while Quake Champions and Wolfenstein Youngblood are going to be playable as well, to say that Doom is not going to be the line that's the longest would be an understatement. I think everyone is going to want to get their hands on it, I just want to read, kind of add something else as a side note to this topic. And this is pretty important. Bethesda sent out an official tweet from their Twitter account to all the PC players who are sick and tired of every big game going to the Epic Store. And again, this is like a two-pronged question. We're pleased to announce that Rage 2, Wolfenstein Youngblood, Wolfenstein Cyberpilot, which I'm assuming is VR, and Doom Eternal will be released on Steam as well. And they said here that we will be bringing Fallout 76. I didn't have to really read that, but I had to anyway. To Steam later this year. I don't think anyone really cares, but whatever. We're here to talk about Doom Eternal. Of course, I'm going to start with So Shady. Doom Eternal is going to be huge. There's no doubt about it. It's going to be gory. It's going to be bloody. It's going to be a game with no story because you're a Marine in hell trying to kill demons. I don't know what kind of story you can add to it other than he's trying to stop it from reaching Earth's core. But, this is going to be a big game. How excited are you for Doom Eternal to actually see full-fledged running gameplay?
My hype has already got me on Mars fighting these demon bastards, man. Doom, I've mentioned before on this very show, man, it is what essentially really got me into the FPS genre. It was actually id Software and Wolfenstein, but it wasn't long after I started playing the Wolfenstein that Doom had come out, the original one. And that was the first game I ever got to play online over the internet with someone else playing their game at their house, and my little mind was so blown. we were texting back and forth to each other. Hey bud, move to the left right now. Hit enter, and he would send the message. He'd read it, and then he'd move to the left. And I almost fell out of my chair. I was just like, oh my god, it's true. We're in the same game. And we played co-op, and it was the greatest thing ever. And then we would play deathmatch, and unless you had a home network at the time, you could only play 1v1 over your modems. So we did 1v1 deathmatch. My God, it was incredible. No one could pick up the phone, the landline phone. Jesus, welcome to the 1900s. Otherwise, the modem just shut down. Your game would freeze. But Doom goes back far for me. I absolutely love it. 2016 Doom is almost my personal perfect game. It is so close to being perfect for me. Man, my God, I love it so much. That reveal of the new one I thought was absolutely fantastic. Bringing it to Earth, hell on Earth. I love it.
I was going to say, what would make it perfect for you? Sorry to interrupt you. I was just curious to see what would make it perfect. The
biggest thing missing for me is there's the ability to play the fantastic campaign cooperative with even up to like 4 guys with just my buddies, because that was Doom for me so much, was playing it cooperative. My dad worked with computers and networks and stuff when I was growing up, so he had computers and stuff. We had a laptop at home, a nice Pentium 60, and I had a little network at home, so I was able to play with my friends. It was incredible. So that is Doom for me, is the co-op, and it wasn't there. Like, you could go into the Snap Map and play some of that stuff co-op, and some content creators out there just did fantastic jobs with some of their maps. They were really fun to play, but I want the main game co-op, and I don't need it to be even addressed in whatever narrative there is. Just let me play as 2, 3, or 4 Doom Marines running around, laying waste. I cannot wait for this game. That new grappling hook under your shotgun looks like a lot of fun to use. The mechanic of just blasting chunks off of these demons as you're busting them up is right up my alley as far as the violence goes. Doom is just unapologetically in your face.
Yes.
And I cannot wait for this game. I can't. I think that they have like an invasion mechanic where enemies or other players can invade your game if you choose to have that option on, and they get to load in as different enemies and try and attack you as well throughout your campaign. That's really cool. So instead of just fighting,
it's a new twist. Sure.
Like you might come across all of a sudden one imp that is way smarter than the rest of the AI imp, and you're like, what the hell is going on? He is a wily bastard, and it turns out it's some other player. I'm not sure if the game is going to make sure you know it's a player, or if it's just all of a sudden
I'm gonna need
there's
to know.
an imp that's kicking ass, and you're like, what is with this guy?
That's great.
Like,
I love it.
I'm just so
I'm getting
hyped
killed by an imp. Why can't I stop him?
Right. I'm gonna need to know, man.
It's my number one.
That's great.
It's my number one game for this year if Cyberpunk doesn't come out, which I still think is going to out of nowhere surprise everyone and have a release
I think the
date
big surprise
gonna...
for Microsoft stage is going to be a release date, and it's going to be this year. And we know
I think so
Microsoft has
too.
the marketing. Yeah,
I really do. But I mean, that aside, Doom has got it. I just cannot wait for this game. I'm pretty damn sure it's going to be this year. But
it is. Yeah, it's going to be in the fall for sure.
Yeah,
we're
always
going to get
in the fall. So
we're going to get the announcement. I'm fortunate enough to say that in a couple of weeks I'll be at E3, and I did get into Bethesda's event. Yeah. So I'm going to be sitting in that chair when they show Doom Eternal, which I'm going to be taping and putting on the channel. Of course, the fire engines are here once again. Damn it, fire! We need to just cool down this podcast, for crying out loud. Anyway, a Nintendo Direct. I want to get you on this one. Okay, listen, Doom is synonymous with gaming. It is what introduced us to gore violence that we've never seen before. Yeah. And 2016, my God, what they did with that game was nothing short of, like Shady alluded to, perfect in every way. I think that Doom Eternal is going to turn the dial to 17 if it's possible. How excited are you for this new game?
I am excited for it, but for an unpopular reason. It's coming to the Nintendo Switch.
Nice. No, that's okay. That's good.
And like that is a game that I will enjoy playing on the go. And that's my question. Will it be playable? At this, the what is it, QuakeCon? Will it be? Yeah,
it's going to be playable. Yes,
will it be playable? Confirmed. The Switch version, will that be playable? I'm excited to hear news about that, because the Switch version for Doom was good. It was a good port. The way they managed to get that game on there was great, and the fact that whenever they dropped the news that it was coming out day and date for the Switch was one of the bigger announcements for Nintendo, I thought, last year. The fact that a game like that would come day and date, because that was like the big narrative was, when Nintendo Switch doesn't get these games day and date, and then Bethesda says, oh yeah, well, we're going to show you Doom Eternal's coming day and date on the Switch. And so I thought that was big. So I'm really looking forward to that. And that is really the main reason why I'm excited for this game, just because to see how it's going to look on the Switch and whatnot. And I'm with you guys. Growing up, I remember the first time I got to play Doom and I saw Doom. My cousin brought it over, and my mom immediately told us.
Was it on a floppy disk, or was it on a?
This is console. This was on console, but my mom immediately told us to turn it off, because my mom was very religious and she did not like seeing what she saw.
She didn't like the hell spawn.
Yeah, she didn't like any of that.
It's so bad.
You're like the Redeemer laying down these hell spawn. I almost think your mom would love it. She's like, give me that controller, son. Let me kill this.
No, she didn't like it at all. But those are my memories. So I'm really excited for this one. Yes, just because of the Switch, and I hope that there's some news that it's actually a decent version for the Switch.
Yeah, I think they're gonna take what they learned with Doom on the Switch, and they're gonna, there's been different techniques that these guys are gonna be working with to get it to work, and I think they're gonna surprise a lot of people. Indie Gamer, I want to get your opinion on Doom. Is like I said, I've heard already some talk where people haven't seen Doom. They're like, game of the year. They game of the year already. And I've done that on a couple of titles. Resident Evil 2, as it stands for me, is game of the year. God of War should have been my game of the year last year. And of course, Assassin's Creed Odyssey ruined that for me, which is an amazing title. But Doom Eternal is going to be great. It's going to be fast. It's going to be violent. It's going to be big guns. BFG is coming back, as we know. How excited are you for this game?
am mega excited for Doom Eternal. Yeah, I have been for a long time. All the way back from when it's announced, and then building up to the reveal of the gameplay last August. I don't know if you remember that. You probably do well, but it was like a massive, long showcase of awesome gameplay from it, and it looks so damn good. It just, I didn't really think it could get any better than 2016 Doom, but when they brought that out, it was clear to see they've gone way above and beyond visuals and some such cool little gameplay tweaks and stuff like that, where you got the grappling hook, like Shady said. That looks pretty damn fun.
That's cool. Going to be a nice twist to the gameplay.
Yeah, definitely. You've got the old school plasma rifle back, which I'm glad to see, because the one from the last game wasn't the same as the original one. I don't know if you remember, but it looks a bit. Yeah. It's more like the original style now, which looks much cooler. But I mean, I'm so hyped to play it. Yeah, I cannot wait. Honestly, it's gonna be one of my top games of the year for sure. I mean, one of the other things I'm really keen to see is, I know story isn't the main thing in Doom, but there is. I don't know if you remember the end of the last one. It was kind of left on a bit of a cliffhanger.
It was, for sure, absolutely.
Yeah, so yes. I quite like the story of it, and I'm quite intrigued to see. It's not my main thing. The gameplay is obviously the main hook, obviously, but it's. I'm quite interested to see where they take it, because they've said it's going to be, bigger, better, basically in every way. And I have a feeling I'm wondering, I don't know if you remember as well, and they showcased a few enemies, like when they did the reveal, and one of them I think was called like the Marauder or something, Marauder, and it basically looked like it was the Doomslayer, but as a demon. I don't know, do you guys remember that?
That's from the reveal.
Yeah, from the reveal. So I'm testing your memories big time, but it looked to me like he basically had a super shotgun like the Doomslayer has, and he had broken off armor like the Slayer's armor, and it basically looked like and he had like horns like a demon, and he was big. But I'm quite intrigued as to see where that could be going, to be honest, because I'm wondering if that might be something to do with the gameplay, where you're going to actually become a demon at some point, or you have the option to become that, or you can I'm just intrigued. I'm quite curious to see what Shady thinks about that, actually. I don't know if he's still on the mic there. Are you there, Shady?
I am. I apologize. I missed the last 20.
No,
I'm knees deep in the chat, man. So if you want to bring it up,
I was just curious. Like, did you remember the Marauder from the gameplay reveal? The guy that looks kind of like the Doomslayer, but he's a demon.
Yeah.
See whether we're going to be able to become like a demon as a gameplay element.
Maybe there's like maybe there's like a super button. You hit LB, RB, and you become this demon.
They did have that multiplayer mode mechanic going on in the last Doom, where you got to transform into the demon. So it could be something like that, or maybe something to do with the death match as well. The multiplayer could be the different teams.
I'm intrigued. I'm just really intrigued in general, but I just think it's going to be super up to the max. I think they're pushing it in every way, and also this Doom is going to be the first Doom they actually designed from the ground up for the 4K Xbox One X and the the new consoles. I believe the first last time was just added later, wasn't it, as a patch for the 4K and all that. So this time they're going from the off, and I think it's going to be absolutely epic, and I can't wait to play it, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Well, they did also mention that this game was setting the stage for like an entire, like a Doom world, if you will, like an expanded universe of Doom. It's like they got big plans for the series apparently, and my God, to say I'm excited is
open world Doom. Here we come. There we go. That's what I'm excited. I think everyone's. But Zemi, look, here's the thing. I know Zemi's like, listen, I don't like scary stuff, demons, zombies. It's just not my bag, baby. But with that said, I think you still have a valid opinion. Doom is going to be a big game. It could be game of the year 2019, depending on what comes out, because we've had a lot of great games come out this year. I know you may not be stoked to buy it, but how do you think this is gonna do for ID Software?
So I mean, I'm definitely not going to buy it. I don't even want to see it. But I think it's going to do very, very well. I think that there's a ton of people that are super pumped about it, super excited. From what I've just been listening to you guys talk, it sounds like they're adding in a lot of really cool, unique gameplay elements that previously wasn't there. And so I mean I'm excited for the fans, but I'm there's no way. Like, there's no way I'm gonna play that game. Like, it's just not gonna happen. I haven't played any Doom game before. Probably never gonna play this one. So yeah. I mean,
love the honesty. Love it.
I mean, listen. You have to.
I love
you
the
have to
I will
appreciate
say,
it.
I will say though, like, I really do like how Bethesda did come out and say that, all of their games will be going to Steam as well as Epic. And I really wish that more developers would come out with that. I will say that.
Yeah, that's a great point, because that actually kind of I threw that in there as kind of just an added bonus that if you're a PC guy or gal, it's not going to be on one. It's not going to be the Epic Store has taken over the world. It's going to be on Steam as well. So I thought that would be a little. But look. Let me just say this. This has been an unbelievable show. Not only just the topics, not only the amount of people I had on the panel. We had 200 people watching live. That might be a record for the show. That proves that whatever I'm doing, apparently I'm doing it good enough where it's not only getting new people to come in, because I saw a lot of new faces here today, but the people keep coming back, and I really appreciate that. The super chat once again, the absolutely phenomenal donations. Thank you guys and gals for that. That's really, really kind of you. I do ask only one thing. You do hit that like button. The more likes I get, I mean, I am going to say this, and I can't say this for everyone. I don't know anyone else's numbers, but I do the analytics for the show. Right now, I'm sitting just under 93% of likes as opposed to dislikes on everything across the board. That's a high percentage. That means that the positivity is paying off. And like I said, this isn't an act like that a-holes, wrote to me numerous times. Told me, take off the mask, Boom. We know it's not you. So whatever, that's fine. But it is me. I'm the guy behind the curtain. But I want to thank everybody for being here once again. This has just been a great, great Friday, a great way to start your weekend, talking positive about gaming, hanging out with your buddies. Everyone in the chat, it seems like they're all friendly as usual. Of course, the enforcers like Lethal Papa, and of course, UK Dazzers, and of course, the panel member today, who's also been put in the authority position to kick people out who are a bunch of a-holes. That it would be the indie gamer, and of course, my panel. You guys are just great. A lot of fun banter, a lot of laughter. Again, that's why I put these shows together. So let's get everybody out of here. And I'm going to start with Zemi, because Zemi, first of all, I love the fact that you're honest, dude. I think that is such a great trait, that you're like, look, I like games, but I don't like scary games. You can take me or leave me. I don't care. But you have some stuff going on you wanted to talk about. I want to get to that. I want to make sure people, first of all, listen, Zemi's Twitter numbers are ridiculously low. I don't even understand how this could be possible. He's one of the community good guys. He helps everybody. Please, if you're listening, click the show notes and just give him a follow, for crying out loud. He deserves it. He's a good dude. But what do you got going on your channel and of course on Twitter, dude?
Well, thank you so much, Boom. So many nice words. I don't know if I deserve them all, but thank you so much. And thank you to the panel, and thank you to the viewers and everyone that's watching. And today was just such a fantastic show. We covered so many great topics. Really enjoy it. I just love having, this conversation every Friday. I just love coming on the podcast and actually being able to talk games, because, just in my life, I don't usually have a whole lot of people to talk games with. I mostly hang out with more casual gamers. But so anyway, so thank you. If you guys do want to follow me, you can follow me on YouTube. My name is Ambassador Zemi on there. And then you can also follow me on Twitter at Ambassador Zemi. And if you do so, currently I have a giveaway going on right now for A Plague Tale: Innocence, which is a recent game that just came out on the 14th. I've been playing it. I'm about to do a review for it. The game is absolutely fantastic. And if you want a chance to win that, definitely click over to my Twitter after the show, and it should be the very first post at the very top of my page.
Nice. So, we appreciate you being here. It's always great having you. Again, really enjoy the banter that we have. We have a great rapport. And of course, I want to go to the Indie Gamer. Listen, your channel is getting bigger by the day, and it deservingly so. You do great work. You cover a genre that usually goes very overlooked for sure. And of course, I think you're going to be doing some work covering Void Bastards that's going to be coming out on the 29th. That's a big indie. If you guys want to know more about it, you can hit up on my YouTube channel. I interviewed Ryan Roth, who was the sound director for Void Bastards. It was a great interview. But Indy, you really do something unique and different. I think you should be over 1,000 already in your subs. I think people need to get over there and sub his channel immediately. Besides being a quality community member, he kind of knows his shit, and it'd be great to people to check out his work. I think you're going to dig it. Please tell everyone where they can follow you, but more importantly, subscribe to your amazing YouTube channel.
Oh, thank you so much, Boom. You are a legend. Really, you are.
I don't think so, but I appreciate the compliment. Thank you, dude.
I can live off your words. I don't, you know what I mean? It's like, no, I really appreciate you having me back on. It's absolutely awesome to always hang with you and the guys. It's great bunch of guys today. It's really real good fun. And yeah, if you do want to join me over on my YouTube channel, it's only small at the moment, but it's all about bringing the undiscovered indie games to the attention of more people. And yeah, basically the channel is, I think it's in the description, but the channel is YouTube/ in the indie gamer, all in one word. And then my Twitter, if you want to join me over there and follow and chat some games, it's indie_gamer_01. And yeah, it's basically about spreading the message for indie games. There's so many great ones out there that often go undiscovered, so just trying to spread that love for the indie goodness.
No, I mean it's not a shtick. It's something that's it's something that you do it well. You represent a very small community that people may overlook, and I think that is something unique about your channel. And I think that games do not have to be $10 billion to be a good game. The game, some of the games that I've fallen in love with over the years were made by one dude. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so,
exactly. It's so true.
These guys, they work hard. Just like I would consider, we're all indie, podcasters. I don't have 60,000 subs, and I don't think I need to. I think that what I'm doing, I'm making. I think everybody hears what they're doing is great work, and you don't have to be the most popular to have a valid opinion in this community. And I think that this is what you do with the indie scene is indicative of what should be done in the YouTube scene. Just because that number isn't big doesn't mean they're not a good good group of guys or gals to follow. But great stuff as usual.
Thank you so much, Boom.
Oh, my pleasure, dude. And of course, my very good friend Nintendo Direct, who I really truly enjoy hanging out with and having on the show whenever he's here. Your channel, I love these snap shows that you do. You know what I'm saying? You give your opinion. You're excited. You're an excitable dude, so it comes through the airwaves, and it's not forced. It's not fake. You're a positive guy. You're a family guy. You're a family first guy. You're a gamer at heart. Please tell everyone where they can subscribe to your incredible channel, but follow you on Twitter to get more info about you.
Yes, so you can find me on Twitter, Nintendo Direct, and also Boom has my one channel in the description. I have a new channel that I just started 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yes, talk about that, dude, because you've been doing some good work there.
Called Studio Nintendo. It's a video game music channel. Most of the time I do video game covers, and I might do some other music topical videos, I guess. But for the most part, it's mostly covers. I got 4 on there right now. Right now I'm sticking to like just the old classic games, so like Mario 64, Donkey Kong Country, Kirby. I just hit 100 subscribers yesterday for that channel, so I put up a special Super Smash Brothers Melee rock cover. It's more of the hardcore metalcore type stuff. So if that's something that you're into, I can't give you the URL because I don't have one yet, because the channel hasn't been out long enough. But if you type in Studio Nintendo, it'll pop up, because it's definitely in the searchable thing, and it'll be right there. There's 4 channels out. So I really would appreciate if y'all check that out.
Yep.
Because I absolutely am enjoying doing that a whole lot. So check those out.
Nice. Well, listen, great work that you're doing. Love the fact that you opened up a second channel and you're looking to do something different, and that's cool. And I think people should definitely leave this show, go sub your channel. And of course, last but certainly not least, a very good friend of mine from all the way from Canada. So Shady, having you on the show is a big deal for me personally, because we've become very close friends. I think that you bring a lot to this community. I think your open-endedness about how your love for gaming is just right out there on your sleeve is a big deal. It shows that you're transparent, you're real, and I love that about you. I think that you bring a tremendous amount of positivity to the community. Even though if you don't agree with someone, you still will bring the facts, and I think that's important. Please tell everyone where they could not subscribe, more so follow you on Twitter, but of course listen to you on the shows that you're frequently on.
Of course, Boom. And I got to say, it's an absolute blast to come here each and every week. It's something I look forward to throughout the entire week. I can't wait to come on here and talk games with yourself, Zemi, everyone that we get on each week, the people in the chat that listen live and that listen after. It's just such a fantastic community that you've built here, man. When I first got into this podcasting world about a year ago, I was worried that it was drama everywhere. That's all I saw, and that's all it was apart. And it's just not the way it is, man. Some of these channels aren't about that drama, and yours is most certainly one of them. I love being a part of it, man. It just brings a smile to my face, dude.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. You can find me on Twitter. I am so shady at the Sesh Empire. That is one word. Also on Xbox, I'm so shady. That's 2 words. And actually, I do have a YouTube channel. There's just no content there. But I mean, there are some eager, dedicated agents of the Sesh Empire already sitting at ground level. They're waiting. There's 80 plus of them already subscribed, and they're waiting for me to put something out. It's coming soon. My mind is going a million miles a minute as to exactly what it's going to be, what it's going to encompass. I don't want to just get too far ahead of myself and trip and fall, if you will. I'd like it to be good. I'd like it to be entertaining. I would like the people that take the time out of their day to watch it to enjoy it. So it is coming. I promise you that. You can find me here every single Friday on Breakfast with Boom. Every Wednesday, I am on Xbox Nation podcast on Crap Gamer Reviews channel. And you did mention it before, so if you don't have a problem with me mentioning it again as to where else I'm going to be appearing in the near future here.
No,
Boom.
please, by all means, go crazy.
Okay, I will be stepping in also with MrBooMStick here to help co-host the Gaming News at Noon while Salty is off taking care of his brand new baby born child there, and his other young one is out of school, so he's got a lot of family stuff he's going to be doing for a little while, and I am totally happy and rather ecstatic actually to step in for the time being and help you with that show, man. I look forward to it. So that'll be every Wednesday morning. You can catch me there.
Yeah, no, I first of all appreciate you accepting the offer. You know, obviously, Salty and I have a fantastic dynamic, and you know, I am not going to say that I didn't have, you know, like there was a short list. It was one person on my mind to fill that spot, and that was you, simply because, like Salty, we have a great dynamic. We like to talk about gaming. We're passionate about it, and I wanted, you know, Salty is he's going to be missed. There's no doubt about it. I mean, but you know, I told him privately, and I'll say it out in the air, family first, and his wife is going to need some big help, and you know, he has to take care of that family, and he will be returning to the seat. There's no particular time limit. He's not taking a lifelong sabbatical. When he's ready and he can and willing and able to do it, he will come back. And until that time, of course, Shady, who is a quality community member, I thought it would be great to have him on, and he accepted. And it's going to be the greatness of that show is going to carry through. But I want to say, first of all, once again, thank you to the chat. 200 plus people watching is just bananas. The super chat, once again, the donations, I greatly appreciated. I have to say thank you to my entire panel for hanging out for nearly 2.5 hours of your time. I do greatly appreciate it. And everyone, enjoy gaming. Treat people how you want to be treated. Remember, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. And please have a great weekend. We'll see you next week on the newest episode of Breakfast with Boom. Take care, everybody. See you later.